Michael.Yon live. This is 16 March 2020, biggest year in human history. Probably, we'll see. I think it will be. This will be the start of arguably late 2019, or wherever you want to set the start. Whenever this virus reared its ugly head, is the real start to what's about to unfold. The virus is only a subset of the problems. It's the kickoff. Or you could argue that Xi and Chinese Communist Party were the kickoff. But here's the bottom line. Go to your strong points. We are there. We're finally reaching that point where that you need to be where you want to last and where you want to weather this thing and fight it out. I've been warning now since January to get water filters, get prepared, buy food. Like I plussed up my food in January, even though I was already prepared, even though I already had masks. I saw a nice comment that came in on the comment string yesterday. Oh yeah, the lights are off. I had a nice comment string coming on the comment string yesterday on the last live cast, and he said, "Thank you. You warned in 2006. I'm not 2006, January 26th." To get water filters. And yeah, I did warn on January 26th. No, what I want to say is make sure you've got candles and that sort of thing. That's why I turn the lights out, just as a reminder of how important it is to be prepared at this point. Now, one of my nieces is now in Canada. I've been telling people now for over a month to get where you're going to get to where you want to last, to where you want to see this thing through, right? Wherever you want to see this thing through, you need to get there now and be prepared for it, because a lot of people already will not be able to get home. A lot of people already will not be able to fly to and fro Europe, for instance, as an example. That will be a lot of people stranded around the world, for instance, say stranded in the United States or stranded in Europe when they want to get back to the United States. Or one of my cousins, she's up in university up in Canada, and now she's getting afraid of the virus and wants to get back to Thailand. And she's asking, can she come in two more weeks? And I said, no. As I've said before, get on the very next airplane, because we never know when it's going to be canceled. And I still have electricity. I'm just doing this to remind you that this is really live fire. This is very serious. And hello in Ohio, besieged Ohio. And so just someone is saying no sound. Can other people pick up sound? It might be that Sylvia needs to turn on her sound. I don't know. But anyway, let's see. Deuce 4. Hey, Nicholas. Nobody else is complaining about sound. So good afternoon, Mark. So I wanted to say this one little thing. Get to where you're going to go. Get to where you want to last this out. Get to what is called your hard point. Get to your hard point where you want to be when the storm hits. And the storm is already hitting Italy, Spain, South Korea. We know it's smashed through China. It's not finished with China. There's going to be a lot. There's going to be almost certainly tens of millions of people have died. This is going to be, I'm just saying this because we need to be prepared for what is really going to happen, not happy story stuff about what's going to happen. Everybody's a soldier now. Everybody's on the front line. There's no place you can go that's not the front line. Even if you're on the space station, you're on the front line, because ground control is going to get obviously affected. So Alan is saying schools are closing in North Carolina, or ADIS is closing. As I've been saying before, since about January, we should be closing everything down. We should be closing all certainly in February. I was saying early February, all incoming flights to countries like the United States should be closed. All zero should be coming across any borders. Should have given people time to get home and close it down, because it's still going to hit us, but we can at least affect the speed of which that it comes. And so, but here we go. Yeah, Diogenes and his lamp. That's right, Ichabod Crane. You heard that story? You heard the story about my grandfather used to tell me the story when we get up at Cataloochee, Western North Carolina, about the man, not the headless horseman, but the guy used to work on the train tracks up there somewhere, and somehow slipped and got his head cut off. And every once in a while, if you go up near the train tracks, if you look way down in the distance, you'll see a little light like this going back and forth, way back there. He's looking for his head. He's got a lantern. So make sure you got lanterns. Make sure you got plenty of candles. Make sure you got plenty of batteries. If you can do solar power, do that. If you anything that you can. So just make sure. I want to. The point at this moment of this entire broadcast is get to your hard point. If you're not there yet and you have to make an international flight, well, you could be in trouble. It depends on your circumstance. But if you're, say, in California and you want to be in Colorado, I suggest you get on that. I suggest you get out there right now and don't wait. And I mean, when I say don't wait, we're down to, and I would not wait even a few days. Now people are like, look at all these people panicking. They're all panicking. And I'm like, not me, dude. I got enough candles that I can have this candle burning right now and not worry about running out of candles. You know what I'm saying? So, and if you do really run out of candles, maybe go ask the Catholic Church or somebody else that's got candles at their church or whatever. But I wouldn't depend on them because they're going to be stressed like everybody else. Don't depend on somebody else. Depend on yourself. Although we are all going to depend on each other. Like one of the things you'll see in the military is like, oh, this guy's got more of this than he needs. I got more of that. She's got more of this. He's got more of that. And so we start balancing out like, hey, this guy's got a lot of that. And here, let me trade you this. It's the normal system, right? Because we could be down to, I don't know what the U.S. tax base is going to do, for instance. What is the IRS going to do when nobody can pay their taxes and there's like millions of outstanding bills out there and they just can't enforce them? And then people realize that, right? This is what we're down to. And then when people realize they can't even enforce, they'll go, well, I'm not writing my check. I need it. You know what I mean? So then the federal government can collapse. It can actually happen. All these things that people like I have been really, we're the preppers that we're worried about this stuff, but we actually see a logical chain of events that is highly plausible that can lead to something like this. And this is where we are. I mean, we may be in a serious situation soon. Hello in Pennsylvania. Now I look like Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now. This is the end. This is the end, my friend. We all look, if everybody helps one person, we're all going to be good to go. Of course, we all know a lot of people are going to die. Most of us are going to survive. This is your chance to be a hero. This is your chance to be the star of your family, the star of your neighborhood, the star of your town, taking care of what you can take care of. You got a fishing net in your garage you haven't used in a while, but you used to use it when you were a kid, like a cast net. Well, get out that cast net. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us from Florida, we'd be like, wait a minute, I don't need the grocery store. I got a cast net, and there's a lake right over there. I'll go feed the family. There's a lake. I'll go get those frogs. I'll go get those. That's funny. They talk about those wet markets in China. I'm like, well, I would go out and rabbits, rabbits do breed like rabbits. And, if you're in a place like Florida, there's a lot of wildlife. Not that everybody in Miami knows how to hunt or anything like that, but people that come from the kind of places that I come from, we're kind of semi-civilized. We know what it's like to live in a town, but we also know what it's like to go catch fish and get an alligator. Hello in Ohio. Where am I? I'm in Chiang Mai, Thailand. And the lights are on. The lights are on, by the way. Sam Shower says, unsubscribe. Well, get on down the road. And all right. So that's it. I'm just keeping the candle on to show that that's it. Make sure you got plenty of candles. Make sure you got all that. Still got time. Remember, now you've seen a lot of runs on the grocery stores, which I've warned about very loud and clear since January. Loud and clear. I've been warning about it since January. Loud and clear. Get your water filters. Stock up on water. Stock up on food. Stock up on medicine. How many times have I said this? Since January, right? Oh, by the way, as it turns out, the first American, apparently, the first Westerner to actually spot that this is a big deal is a lady from my hometown, actually, from Winter Haven, Florida, interestingly. We'll talk about her later, Sharon. I don't know her, actually, or if I do know her, I don't remember ever meeting her. I probably don't know her, but it's interesting that so many interesting people have come from our hometown in Winter Haven, Florida. But apparently, here's Julie Marks. Stop fear-mongering. And she puts 3 exclamation marks. Go bury your head, lady. I don't care about you. All right, so everybody who thinks this is still the flu, you can sign off now and go get you some Kleenex. And everybody who's like, this is just fear-mongering, yeah, we'll just click it off. Click it off. You're the one that's afraid because you took time to write with 3 exclamation marks. I ain't afraid, lady. And Alan, yes, he is. Stocked up. Thanks, man. All right. Good. All right. Stocked up. Thanks to this man has been right from the start. Yes, I have. And whenever I talk like this, so directly like this, over the years, people who've watched my work or read my work know when I get on a television program like Fox or CNN or whatever, and I come on and I tell you what's about to happen, whether it's in Iraq or Afghanistan or something else, I have always been right. Always. When I talk in this tone of voice, when I talk this directly, that's your clue that I know what I know that I know what I'm talking about. If you see me caveating like, well, this could happen, that could happen. Like, for instance, I don't know if the banks will collapse. I simply don't know. Could it happen? I would say, I'm not Warren Buffett, but I would say it's a pretty high chance. Cecilia Thompson, stores are sold out of Kleenex, probably for all these whining people that have been saying, you're just so in panic. Everybody's going to panic out and go buy the toilet paper. Not me, lady. I didn't go buy 1 roll of toilet paper. In fact, I didn't stand in one single line of all the times I've been shopping. I never waited in line. Never. Because I've done all this so far in advance. I didn't have to wait in line to get masks. I had masks. I had masks for years. I had them for years. Am I crazy? Who's crazy now? Right? So that's the point. People like me who pay attention are now Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. There are certain people that are worth listening to and certain people who are not. Anyone who compares this to the flu, anyone, no matter what his or her stature is, no matter how many PhDs, no matter what elections they won or lost, no matter what kind of medical scientist they are, if they compare this to the flu, shut them off. Shut them off. Block them out of your life. Leave them alone. This is time for the strong people to be strong. And now it's time to say to people like that, you are not part of my circle, period. You're not gonna bring your weakness. You're not gonna bring your virus into my strong circle. If you're sitting here saying, don't buy food, this is just a panic. If you're sitting here saying, why do you got candles? If you still don't see it and you're calling people like me panicking because we're comparing this to the flu, I do not want you around, period. So we're down to that. We're down to the strong people. Strong people need to get together, share information, and because we all know parts of the puzzle. I know parts of the puzzle. You know parts of the puzzle. And we all have to put it together. And we need people that can sift through the BS, which is what I'm doing 7 days a week. And remember, one thing I'm very good at, one of my super skills is to, for some reason, I'm very good at knowing which experts to listen to and which ones to show the door. For instance, anybody who calls this the flu, you are crossed off my list. Especially at this point, I will never listen to you again, period, about anything at all, because I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going to answer your emails. I'm not going to answer your messages. If you send me a message that says, this is just like the flu, I'm blocking you because you're wasting my time. This is a wartime. We are in a war right now. This is potentially the worst thing that's ever happened in human history, right? Not World War II, not World War I. This actually literally is potentially the worst thing that's ever happened in human history. And I don't mean just the virus. I'm talking about the other effects that come with it. For instance, economies collapsing, finance systems collapsing, political issues, social issues that can lead to social unrest, serious social unrest in some countries such as the United States. And a lot of the people across Europe and the United States are about to learn the lessons of unfettered immigration, because not all fish can swim in the same aquarium. You know, when you go off and you don't pay attention to which fish can swim together, and you buy like 20 different kinds of fish at the exotic, fish store, and the fish guy says, hey man, I wouldn't put that fish in there. And then, somebody brings all those fish home. Look how pretty it is. Then they wake up the next morning and there's one big fat fish left, and then there's nothing but blood and scales left of the other fish. That's what can happen. Brian Kofaja has been down building walls down on the southern border. Vital vital. It's time to listen to people like Brian Kofaja. You know, the mainstream media has cut him down. The mainstream media has cut people like Steve Bannon down. They've cut people like me down because we're warning. I've been all over this world, right? 75 countries. I've been all over America. Grew up in Florida, went to school in California twice, went to Green Beret training in North Carolina, and then later had a business in North Carolina, had a business in Ohio, had a business in Poland, lived 6 years in Europe. Ich spreche Deutsch, ich kann fließend Deutsch sprechen. I speak German. I've been around the world. I live in Thailand. I've spent years in wars, Iraq, Afghanistan, and up with the Maoists in Nepal and all over the place, right? I've seen a lot of things in this world, and I'm telling you, at a time like this, you need to be prepared, and we will depend on each other. The strong people will, and we're going to have to push the weak people out of our circles. They will infect circles with weak thinking. They will infect circles with disinformation or misinformation. There is a difference. They will infect us with false information. They will infect us with, it's only the flu. It's only the flu. There's still people saying that. Anybody who's saying that, I recommend that you block them unless they're very important in your life. Like, you know, they're your brother or something, then you might give them a pass for a while. But anybody that's still saying things like that, like, I don't need to shop, or why are all these people panicking and while they're standing in line themselves, right? If you're standing in line, you've waited too long. It's okay if you're in places like the United States and Canada and a few other countries. In some countries, it's just way too late. But in countries like the United States, my feeling at this time is there's going to be this initial spike where everything is run out, but our supply lines are not cut off yet. We're still got vibrant internal communications. And when I say communications, I mean like rail transport and, truck transport and all that. That's still wide open. So there's still lots of supplies flying around, huge amounts. Stock up now. And because there's going to come a time, and it could be very, very soon. Remember, I keep saying this will come like an avalanche. It comes almost without warning. You can see the snowpack up there, and then the sun comes up, and then boom, the avalanche comes, right? How many avalanches have I seen in the Himalaya? Like, I don't know, hundreds, thousands. I mean, that's what happens. You know, there's all that snow, and here comes the sun, and there it goes again. And, you know, these massive avalanches, and that's the way it's happening now. With President Trump comes out and says, okay, we're canceling flights from Europe to the United States. That's part of your avalanche. That now causes avalanche for other people who we should have done this a long time ago. So you'll find now, as I've been saying, how long people have been watching my work. How long have I been saying that we need to close down all the schools now? Because we're either going to close them now or we're going to close them later. We can either close it on our terms or we can close it on the virus's terms, right? And so right now you see finally, schools are closing around America. Finally, very late, right? It's just a matter of time. If you're doing any high risk activities, such as skiing, such as rock climbing, which I used to love to do, mountain biking, which I used to love to do. If you're doing any high risk activities that can lead to you getting injured, I highly suggest you stop at this point. Highly suggest that you stop anything that's going to cause you to break your arm or your leg. Because at this point, we're not very far away, certainly not later than May, but I'm patting myself on that one. The U.S. hospitals also will be overwhelmed, right? And the United States government is simply not prepared. People like me have been warning about this since forever. There's millions of us. It's not thousands of us. There's millions of people like me in America who've seen this could come, and we don't know what would bring it. Would it be, an asteroid strike or a virus? Virus is something, or some sort of contagion is something that I've read about since I was a child. So that's why in January you heard me sounding the alarm, like, hey, this is it. We need to be really prepared. This is possibly it. And it was a lady from my hometown that actually noted in Winter Haven, Florida. So let's try to answer a few questions. It's 0513 here in Thailand. So it must be about 6:13 in Washington. Skagit County schools, Ernst Wohl saying, closed until 24 April. I'll bet you they're going to be closed. I'll bet you they're going to be closed longer than that. I'll bet you some of the next schools that reopen will be reopened as like overflow hospitals. That's what we're down to. Yeah, Barbara's right. We should have stopped flights a long time ago. Stay off my page, Audrey Morgan. Listen, if you're wasting time to make that comment, get your ass out of here. Go away. Don't want you. Go die. Seriously, go die. We're down to that. We're down to that. I'm turning on the light here. If you want that, go ahead. Let's just talk in direct terms. How many times have I seen this in wars and whatnot? It's a storm candle, so it's kind of. These are great. These are great sorts of candles. I carry these a lot when I'm in rough countries. Thailand's not rough, but it's and Thai people, by the way, they're not fighting. They're not fighting over toilet paper. Japanese people are not fighting over toilet paper. It's countries like Australia and the United States that do that nonsense. But Thai stores are now are being ravaged as well. So there's a lot of there you go. All right, let's try to answer some questions here. Arlene Burkle, why don't you just add to the hysteria? Hey, do me a favor and block my page. I never want to see your face again. Never want to see your name again. All right. Because see, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. You're part of the problem when people like me have been warning, not just since January, we've been warning for years. That's why I didn't have to go get masks. That's why I didn't have to go get candles. I already had them, right? I plussed up my food when I realized the severity of this, but I had enough for any bump in the road. And everybody should. And people now that are like, oh, you're causing panic. You are part of the problem. The people that mention panic in their first sentence, they are part of the problem. They always have been. I've seen them all over the world. They're the ones that are like, don't panic. You know what I mean? They're the ones that are like shaking when they say it. Don't panic. You're causing panic. Oh, goodness. You're causing panic. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. That's like, oh, you people. This is my pages are pages for strong people. Like Brian Kofaja is down on the border, still building the border. He's wounded in combat. He's still in the fight. We're not the type of people who panic. We're not panicking sorts of people. And at some point, we get to the point where I even see Chris Martinson at Peak Prosperity. He's usually much more of a gentleman than I am. But even he is losing his, and even the English doctor, what's his name? John Campbell. I like to watch his programs because he's just like English doctor about it. Even he's like losing his patience with some people, but he's doing it in the English way. I'm doing it in the American way. And where we're just like, listen, man, Chris Martinson, I don't know if he's watching my page or whatever, but I when I say stuff, I'll then see it on his podcast, which I'm watching. You should watch Chris Martinson on Peak Prosperity. He's doing, he puts out information that I don't put out, and I put out information that he doesn't put out. And then Steve Bannon puts out information that none of us put out. And then also John Campbell, the English doctor, he puts out information that all the rest of us don't put out. So we have to shop around and get our different pieces of the pie. All of us have critical pieces of the pie. One of the critical pieces of the pie that I had, and that all these, I'm not even paying attention to experts that came into this in late February. You're so far behind the curve that I don't believe that they have the sense to predict because what's really vital now are people like me and Bannon and Chris Martinson and Dr. Campbell, who actually have been consistently way ahead, because what we need right now are people that are thinking, and not just thinking, but are consistently accurate, many steps ahead so that we can prepare. People that have been watching my page know they've already stocked up like in January, you know what I mean? Or at the latest February. People that are heeding my words are already in their strong points. If not, they're like cutting off this podcast right now, because your number one priority at this point is to get to your strong point, unless your strong point's walking distance. I mean, for me, walking distance, 500 miles, because I'm kind of a different kind of animal. But for some people, walking distance is like a mile. For me, I mean, I'll literally walk from Miami up to freaking New York. You know what I'm saying? But for a lot of other people, it's not. So you might want to get used to hiking a lot more. You might want to get used to that if we have gas shortages. And so, Yeah. And so, hello, Megan. Nice. Thanks to him, I stocked up on cleaning supplies last month. It just happened soon. So soon, I honestly didn't get a month food prep, let alone other essentials. I'm thinking diapers, wipes, and nervous. Listen, there's other ways to get food right now. For instance, I was checking yesterday on Amazon and also store shelves. There's still a lot of that like bodybuilder whey mix and all that protein powders and all that stuff. Don't forget that stuff. Don't forget to get multivitamins. Don't forget to get vitamin D. Don't forget to get vitamin C. Get a multivitamin because just in case, especially vitamin D, looks like it can help us fight back. Take care of your health. Get good sleep. Exercise a little bit every day, at least a little bit, at least 15 or 30 minutes every day, just a little bit. Just walk around. Walk around is good, especially if you can walk in the sun because the sun can help us with our vitamin D, right? It also helps us with our attitude because what's one of the big things that's going to get almost all of us through this is winning attitude, positive attitude. Helping other people actually helps you. When you help other people, you feel better about doing everything. So we're all going to be in this prize fight together. We're fighting. But when you do get hit with the virus, if your immune system is strong, then you might just get a cough or whatever for a couple of days. You might not get any symptoms. You might just like get it and then you're good to go. We don't know. You're welcome. And let's say Susan Order and Guinness is saying the Feds cut the benchmark interest rate to 0. Dow futures off 3.75 as you speak. I wonder what's going to happen to the U.S. tax base. I wonder what's going to happen when soldiers don't get their pay. What's going to happen when people on our submarines are infected. What's going to happen then? And Taiwan, I highly suggest, remember, Taiwanese friends and Hong Kongers and Japanese and others have been saying the Chinese may attack Taiwan now. And up to this point, I don't think that they would attack yet because they're in a weakened state themselves. But a moment of opportunity for Chinese Communist Party will be when the United States and Japan and others are weakened. And the Chinese Communist Party realizing that this can distract from woes at home. Hey, we'll just go take Taiwan. Taiwan's our problem. You know what I mean? That's these don't discount that idea. These are the types of things that happen in the real world. This literally is something that has never been seen before in human history. Oh, you're talking about the lantern lid. You and Kit Moan. I've got another one of these in Florida, but it's not red like this, isn't it? Or whatever color you call this. There's so many colors in the world. And I don't think it's actually Yuko, is it? I don't know. I got one that's really old, or maybe it is Yuko, but the other one I got is like brass color. But yeah, this is hot still. Make sure if you turn it on, or not turn it on, if you light it up, that you realize that reflector is going to get hot. And again, I don't make any money. I'm not putting links up, and I don't know anybody at Yuko. But the way that this works, I'll show you. All right. You can just order that. It's kind of expensive. You can make your own. Use tinfoil or something. You know, it's time for everybody to learn to brush off their MacGyver skills. Because, this is a time to, how many things can I do with a plastic jug? You know what I mean? How many things can I do with a piece of string? But this works like this. It comes in 2 parts. And, and you just snap them together. You snap those parts together. And then put it over the, and actually, if you get enough candles, you can use these things. Like one candle, like I can read on one candle all night. The reason I even know that's because when I would be cannibal hunting or going off to the wars and stuff, I would often use this. I wasn't actually using this particular one, but I had another brass one. I think is in Florida, but it's the same thing actually. Make sure you got plenty of betadine and hydrogen peroxide and bandages and all that stuff. We don't want to be going to the hospital for little things, obviously. If you can fix it at home, you know what I mean? Because the hospitals are going to be overwhelmed. And the people that are saying, don't panic now, those are the ones that are really going to be the problem causers. Those are the ones that are going to be fighting over toilet paper that are already going to, be causing more casualties because they're just, this is Darwin. This is where Darwin comes into play. It's quite serious. Okay. Yeah, canned goods, Julie Walsh is saying. And remember, canned goods go way past their shelf life. I mean, there's canned goods that are still good. They're like 30 years old. People, listen, there's some of those old trenches that have been dug out from World War One because they still find those in Europe, right? And World War Two. And the food actually sometimes is still good from World War One and World War Two. You're right. Mm-hmm. And remember, World War One, a bigger thing that happened during that time was the Spanish flu. And I grind my own coffee. I love my coffee maker, and I haven't ground enough coffee for this morning, which I really want to grind it now because I want to make some more coffee. But let's see. I've had supplies for years, World Dunlap says, but thanks to Michael for getting the word out. He could be just covering his own ass, but takes time to inform, advise others. Oh, you're welcome. This is my job. My mission, because it makes me feel good, is to take care of the tribe. You know, it's to take care of other people around me. And, my niece up in Canada now, it's finally settled. One of the difficult times that we have with this is psychology, on imbuing upon people the seriousness of it without causing panic, without causing undue angst and that sort of thing. But you need to up it to the level that it actually gets their attention, like Hello McFly. You know what I mean? Like, this is actually serious. You actually need to put down that video game. You actually need to not go to the movies. You need to pay attention this time. I don't often ask for your attention. I don't often say, stop chatting on your little WeChat thing or whatever. I don't often say that. WeChat. But I don't use that. But I don't often, say something like that. But if I do, it's because, hey, here comes something. We need to be prepared because it's quite serious. Don Sakuda says, it's pouring on Oahu right now. I'm listening to you in my car. I love Oahu, man. It's so nice. You should not have any problems with water in Hawaii because you guys got so much water. There's actually a desert on the Big Island. I've been to that desert. A lot of people don't realize there's like tundra and desert in Hawaii. They don't realize that at all. But Hawaii is so complex. You and Kip Moon, Lisa Marie, Lou and Kip Moon has always been correct in his. There's another part to that little candle, by the way. There's this part. There's this part. That's a reflector. So when I'm reading or whatever, I can use this. I just hang that off. But you don't need, and this candle goes up like this, right? One thing, it's not completely storm-proof. I mean, if it's really windy, it will actually, it can actually make it go out, but it takes severe wind. This thing will be like, but if it is raining hard, it actually can put it out if it's hanging in the rain. For instance, a lot of times when I was cannibal hunting and it was monsoon in India and it was nighttime, I didn't like to get in there nasty shower water and stuff. You know what I mean? So I would go out in the jungle. I would just get naked in the shunk. And if it was raining monsoon, I would just bathe in the jungle with the rainwater coming off the leaves. You know what I mean? And so, and I would hang my candle up or whatever. And then I found if it's raining too hard, it would, even if it's got this on it, the rain would put my candle out. So I'd be out there naked as a jaybird, at midnight, bathing in the jungle with under my candle. But if you didn't have your candle under cover, it would go out. So then sometimes I would use my waterproof flashlight, or I found other ways to hang it so that I could still have my candle. That's all you need. That's all you need to take a shower, is really a little bit of light at night or day. You don't need the light at day, and rainwater. Save water. Just go out and in the rain, and it's raining, I'll go out and shower. I mean, do it like your granddaddy, man. Let's see if there's any comments that we can get here. Hello, Peter. I live in Puerto Rico. Do you think the supplies will continue to come to this island? Probably, but I would also suggest that you think about stocking up madly. There's a lot of water supplies on Puerto Rico, as you know, and you're surrounded by the ocean. I don't know what the fishing's like around there. And corn cobs. Kim says the farmer's toilet paper, corn cobs, and leaves, which I've actually used both. Actually they used to use oyster shells. Oyster shells can be used as toilet paper too, but I would suggest being careful. But oyster shells I think some of the Indians use those, but I'm not sure about that. But I do believe also up in like New York, in the old days, up in like Northeast United States, they used to use oyster shells. But like, yeah, this is a good response that we're Dunlap at the merchant ships could be infected. Yeah. Remember in the old days when it comes to, plague ships, there's a reason they're called plague ships because in the old days, there would be quarantine, like quarantine 40 days, right? They have to stay out for quarantine. It means 40, right? They have to, or I don't know does it come from Latin? I don't know. Anyway, but quarantine means something like 40 days, right? So ships would have to anchor off and wait before they would come and offload or load. So imagine those were original supply line problems. Georgine Madigan Stoner, I started drinking coffee black. I'm good for 6 months. Who should anybody vote for this president? Certainly not Bernie the communist. Certainly not Joe Biden. I mean, he's like mentally defunct. Something's not right with Joe Biden. Something was never right with Joe Biden, even on his finest day, even like 30 years ago. Kirk Miyake, didn't the Romans use a sponge or on a stick? Probably. I think there's people that still do stuff like that. I wish America had more bidets. Actually, bidets are much better. Cynthia says you must be talking about the oyster shells for toilet paper or toiletries. I don't even know how they did it. The merchant ships could be infected. Absolutely. Deborah Crutchfield, can the weather spread this or any virus faster? Well, it's a good question. It's a very, very solid question, a very important question. And it's a question that the scientists are trying to answer right now because this disease is new. It's novel virus, right? And so they haven't had a chance to work all that out yet because it's really just getting on the radar screen. We haven't gone through a summer, for instance. Of course, everybody's testing it all around the world. We've got huge amounts of the smartest people in the world are laser focused on this now because they do realize finally how serious this actually is. Actually, a lot of people were realizing this not just in December, but they were realizing it like since I was a kid. The oldest that I found that people warning about this in modern times was some book I found a long time ago. It was in the 1800s, and doctors or who was it? Somebody was warning about this like way back then. They'd already been through all this stuff. It was the Black Plagues. There were so many plagues through history. So many. They happen all the time. There's only a few that we remember because they're so traumatic to all of humanity. 1918 was really big, and the bubonic plagues and all that were quite big, right? And so, but there's a few like that, but there's actually always going on. That's why infectious disease experts will never be unemployed, right? I mean, they always got something to do. Epidemiologists, they are fully employed and always will be regardless of this, right? And they've been warning us about it since I was a little kid. They've been warning us about it since before our grandparents were born. Their grandparent epidemiologists were warning about it. So this is nothing new, but this particular virus is, and so they haven't had time to do their science on it enough yet so that they can make proper answers to that. But we're going to know. Oh, Susie Hartman, cannibal hunting in India. Once we're in the, quarantine coffee and book club, and everybody's wants just something to talk about, I'll tell you about cannibal hunting. You won't believe it. It'll certainly take your mind off of any boredom. I'll tell you one thing. Now, if this virus doesn't scare me, but I tell you what, hunting cannibals sometimes was actually quite scary at times, even for me. It was pretty dangerous at times. Okay, let's see. Rita Holland Moore is saying, my son installed bidets, or our Southerners would say bidet. What's a bidet? Installed bidets on my toilets about 2 years ago. He recently moved to Germany, Leipzig. Oh, it's funny, Leipzig. Leipzig, East Germany, right? Or now Eastern Germany. When I first went to Leipzig, it was terrible because it was just on the, communism is just, the tide was just going out for communism. It was a terrible, terrible place. Tina Turner came and did a concert when I was on one of my trips to Leipzig. But that was during the transition the wall had come down, and I was immediately out kind of doing stuff in the East Block, and and I was in Leipzig. It was quite interesting. So I had a East German girlfriend, and so we're at her home with her parents, right? And they got a really big home, so they must have been some kind of party members or something. I don't know. And they're asking me what it's like in Florida, and I said, "Oh well, it's like very sunny. It rains all the time, and and the father's like, none of them spoke English, but ich spreche Deutsch. Ich kann fließend Deutsch. Yeah, but I speak German. I speak fluent. I speak German fluently because I went to a military language school when I was a Green Beret, right? So anyway, so he's like, don't tell anybody, but let me show you my map, because they weren't allowed to have maps, which is what they told us in church as well. They told us in church, they're not even allowed to have maps behind the Iron Curtain. I was like, what? Can't have maps? I can buy maps all over the place around here, and it was true. They weren't allowed to have maps because maps were considered to be national security risks, right? Can't make up this stuff. It's true as can be. And so he comes down with this old atlas, like crocodile. No, what's that guy that used to Temple of Doom guy? Like dusting it off. And I'm like, this is thing. So there's these different maps around the world, including the United States and Florida. Florida was not even drawn exactly correctly. I know how my state is shaped. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, that's like Christopher Columbus map almost. It was so old. And I was like, well, I live right there in Winter Haven, right in the middle of Florida. That's where I'm from. And they're like, wow, what are the mountains? Are there mountains? I was like, nope. It's just like, it's very hot and it's a very nice place actually. And I said, we could see the rockets, like when they launched to the moon. And I'm saying all this in German, right? I was like, ich konnte die Anstalten sehen, all this, and I was telling them all this stuff in German. And finally, my girlfriend, she's like, I was talking about the Apollo 11, the first mission for the landed Neil Armstrong and my favorite astronaut on the moon and on the first mission, right, on Apollo 11. And I saw it take off when I was 5 years old. I still remember it, and it was really loud. And she didn't believe that people had walked on the moon. And I was like, it's the truth. And she's like, she asked her father, she goes, Vati, ist das die Wahrheit? And it's like, Daddy, is that the truth? Did people really go to the moon? I was like, ja, ist die Wahrheit. Yes, I was like, yeah, it's the truth. You don't believe me? Glaubst du mir nicht? It's like, you don't believe me? And she's like, she didn't believe it at all. And her father's like, ja, ich denke so, ich habe das gehört, vielleicht. He's like, I heard that, maybe. It's like, I was like, it's true. People really went to the moon. And anyway, East Germany, man, Leipzig. Jim Buckley, the word quarantine comes from the 17th century Venetian variant of the Italian quarantat gironi, meaning the 40 days, the period that all ships were required to be isolated before passengers and crew could go ashore during the Black Death plague epidemic. Interesting. In Venice, of all places. Venice, that clock tower that's in Venice. I've been to Venice a few times. It's really interesting. But that clock tower in Venice, that was the first place in Europe, I think, that had a lightning rod on it. The only reason I know that is because I was studying some historical things about lightning rods and whatnot. It was a long story. But anyway, I was actually researching about explosives. And a lot of churches in Europe used to blow up. And the churches would like in Italy, there was one in North Italy in, oh Lord, what was the name of that town? It blew up, killed 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people. And then they would just blow up all the time. Churches just blow up, just kill the whole village, right? It happened in Netherlands. It happened. Why? Is because the churches stored the gunpowder, right? So they have basements filled with gunpowder, right? It's like tons and tons and tons of gunpowder. And then the church bell towers they're lightning rods. So what'll happen is lightning strikes the, church bell tower, and then it goes right down that rope straight to the basement. Boom! Blows up the entire village. It's like it happened more than once. It happened quite. And not only that, but the bell ringers would get killed all the time. I found the study in Germany, and it was from from 1600s, I think, something. I can't remember. Anyway, it was, and they were studying like because back then in England and whatnot, and Scotland and all that, and Germany, the bell ringers would get killed all the time by lightning because they would go ring the bell before storms came because the farmers would pay them to ring the bell to like scare off the evil spirits or whatever. So they'd be out there ringing a bell. Okay, we're going to scare off the evil spirits, and bam, another church bell ringer dead. And so, and a lot of them too, man. It wasn't like 2 or 3. It was so many that it was like a thing. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, we can talk about that if we get into the, smokeless powder. So you have smokeless powder in your basement. So when your house does go up, at least it won't have a lot of smoke. It'll just be like wood and wood chips and pieces of the mattress and parts of the microwave. Yeah, actually, Carr is bringing up an interesting point. Carr Edwards, this is going to be much worse in areas of the U.S. that have to deal with upcoming spring flooding, along with the CCP virus. Yeah, and so as you well know, especially as preppers know, we have good imaginations, but we try to keep it. So there's always that balancing act. How much is just over prep and I'm, being paranoid? Because you want to don't be paranoid. That's ridiculous. That's counterproductive. But don't be caught off guard. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not just counterproductive. That ends your whole family tree, right? Finished. So you have to be prepared. That's why you notice that farmers are so conservative. Every country I go to, farmers are easy to get along with. Every country, even Taliban farmers, super easy to get along with. Every farmer in every country I go to are super easy to get along with and super down to earth and super conservative. They're like, if I don't plant my stuff just in time, my stuff won't be ready and my family will be hungry, right? I mean, they're real pragmatic people and they're conservative. When I say conservative, I mean, they're not really, they stick with what they know works. And they always try to keep plenty of seed, if they don't, plenty of supplies to get through a very terrible winter, and that sort of thing. Yeah, let's see. Georgian Jones, me too. 3 strikes against me. Old pulmonary sarcoidosis, immune suppressant medication circuit. Make sure to, James, to stay, as you know, as well as you can, to, be isolated now. Because if you're going to go to the hospital, you need to do it when there's plenty of beds, obviously. And that's the problem that we're going to have is obviously like Italy now, that there's just no beds. Okay, Daniel Malk is saying, I recalled when I was in the Army, we were told to use sunlight to disinfect our uniforms when there was no laundry in the facility. Oh, yeah, I still do that. You hear me saying when I come home, I hang my stuff in the sun. I don't bring it inside. This shirt doesn't go outside. And my other clothes that I go outside, I put them in the sun. Like when I've had packages come in recently, I leave them out in the sun, turn them around because the delivery guy has been touching them. Sun's a great disinfectant. Sun can also disinfect water. Like if you have plastic water bottles, if I have one around here, I don't. You can just fill it with water and set it in the sun. Just leave it up there all day, and the sun will kill the bacteria and deactivate the viruses. Now, if you're way up in the north of Norway, you might have to make an adjustment on that. But if you're way up in the north of Norway, man, y'all got so much water. Y'all got so much water up there. And there's some places that water is just not going to be a big deal. Like if you're in North Florida and you're near a spring, if there's a spring like a mile away, that's plenty close, man. Unless you physically can't move very well, but you can. But like that spring water in Florida, I've drank enough of that spring water. I would just drink it by the gallon, man. I love Florida spring water. 72 degrees Fahrenheit. It's very, give or take a little bit, but about 72. Lori Nance saying, Italy is total lockdown. My friend in Croatia says everything normal for now. Barbara Summey's asking a good question. Small islands like Bahamas, Aruba, not reporting any virus. Why? Okay, a couple things. One is they're going to get hit, period. It's like thinking they're not going to get hit by a hurricane. It is absolutely going to hit them. And just like the 1918 flu ravaged all over the islands. It just took, it takes time to get to all these places. Everybody will peak at on their own schedule, or on the virus's schedule. We can affect that schedule. There's 2 votes in here, virus and us, and the virus is got the initiative at this point. I didn't touch my head. I was about to scratch my head. See, I've been training myself. But they're going to get hit. It could be from lack of reporting, or it could be from lack of just hasn't really hit them hard yet, because it starts with 1 case. And the doubling time is 4 to 6 days. I think it might depend on where they're at in different cultures. I don't know. You have to talk with the infectious disease experts on that. Miles Spainhauer says farmers are borderline hoarders. But remember, you're not really a hoarder in the bad sense of the word if you've done it way in advance. That's different. Like my grandfather, he'd lived through all those hard times. He would collect every little thing, like POWs, man. Like POWs, they find a rusty nail, they keep it. My granddad had all kinds of like mason jars filled with rusty bent nails, and we would be out with a hammer straightening out nails. He would like see old wood, he'd be like, stop. That's all right. He had a pickup truck, because any old wood that people discarded, we would go stop and collect. If it was good looking wood, we would go collect it. And then we would take out all the nails and then straighten the nails. He's like, you don't need to buy nails. People throw away good nails all the time. And keep that in mind. If you need nails, I mean, people throw away great nails all the time. You pull it out and it's bent, but it's actually still a good nail. Just go out and straighten it up. I've straightened so many nails with my granddad. We had freaking tons of nails, It's like, and so you don't throw away any food. I mean, if you live in, make sure you make only the food that you're going to eat. You shouldn't be don't throw away any food. Send it to me if you want. I need some grits, but don't send me used grits. Hello in Finland. You should have good water resources up there. Okay, let's see. I'm going to try to answer some questions here. Let's see. Okay. Don't look at the rain as a bad thing. Look at it as a chance to practice catching water. If you got plenty of water now, take the kids out and practice catching water. Get the Army Survival Manual, or if you don't know, or just some people already know how. It's kind of simple. You can make it up. How to catch water. You can figure it out. But there are ways that people have done, like use a plastic tarp, use ponchos, that sort of thing, and you can just collect huge amounts of water. But if you practice now when you don't need it, then when the time comes, you're like, oh, I know how to do this. Just get some bungee cords and stretch up my ponchos, and I'll just collect all the water I want. Stick the barrel under it. You know what I mean? And you use your water filter, which I have here. I was just actually it's not assembled right now because I was using it this morning, so I'm drying it out. But yeah, I use my Katadyn water filter. But actually, I was just using it for something this morning. But I've used that since 2002. I think I got it in 2002. I'm almost sure. I've seen it in at least one of my photos from 2002. So I had it definitely in 2002. Can I start boiling tap? I don't know where you're at. I mean, if you're in some places, you don't need to now. If the health department puts out and that's going to be a local decision anyway. Remember, whether, the boil thing will come from local health departments. That doesn't come from federal level. That comes from your town or your parish or your county or something like that. That will come. So you have to pay attention to your local experts on that. Coffee filters would be a good idea for masks. And remember, it's not all about stopping the little virus from coming in. It's also coughing out, or people coughing, and hitting you right in the mouth with their spit, and that sort of thing. Justin Baumgartner is saying, just out of curiosity, is China looking to militarily take over Southeast Asia and spread their influence and ideology upon the nations? And this COVID-19, I call it China plague or Xi's disease, change those plans? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going through their, communist brains. I don't know. I'm not a mind reader. and I don't respect mind readers, quite frankly, because it tells me that they don't have strong thinking skills. So I'm not going to try to read their mind, but I am trying, obviously, to anticipate. Would they go for Taiwan soon, during the time when the United States is weakened? Maybe. I would, certainly increase the chance of that, the probability. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. No, okay. Near UV flashlight. Peter Michael Sullivan is saying near UV flashlight is not. He's talking 345 nanometers for Amazon. Don't get that. That's not going to purify your water. You need like 254 nanometers, I think, for UV, to deactivate viruses and bacteria, like this one. This one's it's like 253 or something. This is what you need. It's catadine, and I don't make money from catadine. This is called a Sterapen, right? This one will deactivate. It doesn't filter it. It just will deactivate viruses. This is a little light. This is a UV light. I think it goes out at 253 nanometers, right? And that's a wavelength that does very little of it makes it to the Earth, and that's why the viruses and us. You remember people talking about depletion of ozone and the world's going to end because of depletion of ozone? Well, there is definitely a depletion of ozone, and it can cause problems because we don't have, like, our skin will adjust to the more closer to the 400 nanometers, 400, yeah, and 3 and 400, and a little bit also shorter wavelength than that. But then you get shorter and shorter still. That's stopped by the ozone, so most of it doesn't get to the ground. So the viruses and the bacteria don't have protection against that wavelength that this uses. But we don't get hit with this wavelength very much because very little makes it through unless the ozone's depleted. And so that's why this deactivates viruses and kills bacteria. And the reason they call it deactivates instead of kills is because there's that big philosophical discussion on whether or not viruses actually are alive. They're like quasi-alive. They're whatever they are. They're viruses. Let's see. Okay. Can't buy toilet paper. Lori Nance is saying, Bonita Slam, I bought extra filters. Can't buy toilet paper. I think filters would make good substitute if needed. They don't go bad, and eventually they will get used one way or the other. U.S. Barbara Summy saying, U.S. interest rate 0 to 2 point. They're going to be throwing money at you soon. Okay. Yeah, I wonder what this means for our elections in the United States this year. I believe they've already been delayed in the United Kingdom, because are we actually going to be able to do that? Are we actually going to be able to have elections this year? I don't know. If not, imagine the craziness that would portend there. Kenny Ree says, this sounded crazy in China, but now it seems normal. Oh, it's the new normal for a while. It's coming. And again, people that are still calling this the flu or like, don't panic, just talk to the hand. I'm tired of them. Finish with them. This is Adults Corner. I've been saying that since late January. This is for adults. You know what I mean? I think by now, most people realize that this is not the flu. And those who don't, they're just at such a low end of the... Darwin's going to come get them. Unfortunately, they're also going to be knocking on our doors for everything. Peggy Peak, listen, some of the states that want to control guns have banned buying guns. Really? I would... That's the sort of thing that can lead to a serious confrontation with consequences. Australia will, after initial shock, be mates and help each other. Hopefully this will give the world a good chance to stick together and understand we are in this together, global brothers. I mean, if everybody helps one person, then we'll be good to go. Of course, we know not everybody will do that, but some of us will help as many people as we can, and some of us will not, and some of us because can't. I mean, if you're in a say medical position or whatever that you can't help anybody, then you just, I mean, you're the one that we're coming to help, right? So, and then there's going to be the opportunistic ones that will come and start doing the robbing and raping. And, you know, if they're doing that in your neighborhood, just make sure when you're at, you know, Costco or something, you actually buy a shovel. So, because this is no joke, and it's not going to be like, hey, please don't. It's going to be like, this is a no-come neighborhood. Okay. Elizabeth Atwater means, yes, I got my hunker down shopping done a week and a half before everyone else in my city. Great. And just got here watching Chris Madison, Peak Prosperity. Good. He does good shows. Cynthia Wood, I've unfollowed a lot of people on so-called news sites for same reason. Some are family that are stupid like that. Yeah, now it's time to start unfriending people that are just getting in the way. They're causing, and this is a chance to like, if people are coming onto my website saying this is the flu, now they're putting out information that like a 16-year-old kid or you know, somebody else will go, well, yeah, but he just said it's the flu. I'm like, hold on, it's not the flu. And I don't have time to explain it anymore. So I'm just going to block them because now we're in a wartime. Wartime rules are now in effect. First Amendment, everybody still got it, but not on my Facebook if you're spreading bad information. Not if you're on my Facebook saying this is just the flu and everybody don't panic and you're just causing panic, gonna get blocked. We don't have time for that. Wartime rules are in effect. And then after this is all said and done, you can go back to being an idiot. But not now. Right now, idiots are just verboten. Don't want you. You're going to be out of the circle. Let's see. Yeah, the gloves are important. Fist bumping is very in now. I like the way Thais say hello. Or Japanese bowing. There's no need to shake hands. Really, that's so, like, people have talked about that for years. Why do we shake hands? Spreading disease. You know what I mean? It's actually ridiculous that we still shake hands despite human, experience with different, not just plagues like this, but just day-to-day stuff like common colds. You're like, achoo, and then 5 minutes later, he's shaking your hand, right? Uh-oh, one of my cats is awake. I can hear her. Let's see. Creighton Pirate saying, plenty of good information. You, Peak Prosperity, and Pandemic War Room. Yes, I've been on War Room with Steve Bannon 2 or 3 times on this, on Pandemic, and I send him information all the time. I just sent him some information yesterday or day before. Sometimes I'll see it pop up there as well, actually. Let's see. All right. Yeah, no PPE in the stockpiles, Dizzy Van Patten is saying. Yeah, like, where's our strategic mask stockpile? And they expect us to believe them now. They're like, we got it under control. Hello. You don't have it under control. Where's our masks? You know what I mean? Where's our, we count. Where did all these tremendously expensive things that our politicians do? And I don't mean just Republicans or just Democrats or just this or that. I mean the whole government. You know what I mean? It's like it just from state levels on down, or on up. All right. Yeah. Chris says, actually, I'm not fasting right now. I'm preserving my fat right now, as a survival thing. But make sure you do get daily exercise. Make sure you get out in the sun every day if you can, if it's sunshiny, and make sure that exercise will help you sleep better, and sunshine will help you sleep better and build your vitamin D. And remember, sleep and vitamin D will help you, and also having a calm mindset. And that's why we're going to get rid of people that are just arguing all the time and talking nonsense. Start blocking them, make them cyst them out, like build a cyst around them. And one way is just to block them. And if they're blocked, then they're not interfering and taking up bandwidth. The signal to noise. We can increase signal to noise by getting rid of the noise. Marie Gannon is saying, just received a call to reschedule my daughter's dentist appointment because they are low on supplies due to coronavirus, due to G's disease. Yeah. Creighton Prewat says, my local CarQuest has a lot of N95 masks. Yeah, exactly. We've got the Surgeon General Jerome Adams, what a clown, and others saying that you don't need masks, they don't work anyway. They're completely lying. Jerome Adams will never, the Surgeon General, recover his credibility with me. One of my things that I'm very good at is finding bullshitters, and it's not just body language or something, it's other things, and then just quarantining them in my mind. And now Jerome Adams, our Surgeon General, he is now quarantined in my mind. I don't let information come in from him other than I want to know what he's saying, because he will affect the country, and what affects the United States will affect the world. Because you'll see a lot of countries following the United States lead on this, even though the United States has transparently made dramatic mistakes that'll cost a lot of lives. Hard point is, as Peter says, when I say go to your hard point now, hard point is a place, I mean, in military point, it just means a place that you can defend, right? But also it can mean go to the place that you're safest, right? Go to the place where you have your reliable water supply, food, or whatever, or your family needs you, that sort of thing, or you need your family. Go to the place where you are safest, right? And remember, anticipate the electricity will be out. Anticipate the water will be out. If it doesn't go out, that's a huge bonus. If it does go out, you'll be like, whatever, I prepared for this 5 months ago because that guy Michael.Yon told me to prepare. Where is Michael.Yon? I haven't seen him in a month, come to think of it. He's gone offline for some reason. Because, electricity can go out here, or it can go out for you, or it can go out somewhere in between, satellites not working or whatever. So, I mean, there's all kinds of... Yeah, Dizzy Van Patten has said, I'm so going to start blocking people. Definitely start blocking anybody that's just comparing this to the virus. Because remember, a lot of kids are seeing this too. A lot of people don't know much, or they're very busy. If a woman has 2 or 3 kids to raise and a husband, same, they're raising kids. They got problems they got to deal with. They might have financial problems. They might have everything else going on in the world. They don't have time like me to study this 7 days a week. I have time because of people like you support me. So hit my Patreon, by the way. Very important. But the only reason I have time is because of people like you support me so I can support you. I mean, I still need your support. But the people that don't have time to study it, which is like, 98% of the people in the world are busy with something else. They only have time to come on and see somebody like me talk, or the Surgeon General. And the Surgeon General says, don't use masks. So people are like, well, Surgeon General said, don't use masks. So that's what I needed to know. Okay, no mask. And there's like, hello. It's like, yeah, the masks are important. And they're not just important for this. Remember, all the other sicknesses and diseases are now out there too. And if you're weakened by another one, if you're weakened by something else, like the, common cold, if you're weakened by something, you don't want to be then hit with this, right? Obviously. Or if you're weakened by this, you don't want to be hit by that. I mean, so yeah, they're putting out bad information. And so there's so many people that are so busy out there that just don't have time to, my cat's reaching through the window. She's got I'm going to have to go soon on cat issues. Let me see here. If you'll hold just a minute, I'll be right back. I got to go take care of a little cat issue. Just a minute. Take a break, hit the restroom or something. Be right back. Okay. Sorry about that. She woke up. I found her when she was a kitten, and she was really wild as can be, man. I had to physically catch her. I had to pin her to the ground. And now she's had a couple kittens herself, and I got those two. Do the cat tricep morning tricep cat exercise. Hey, Bernie Mac. As a combat vet that is retired, I have my neighborhood that I can't read the rest of your comment. Let me scroll up. Sorry about that, Milo. All right. Where is the rest of Bernie Mac's comment? I want to read it. I might have to take her. Okay, here's what Bernie Mac says. As a combat vet that is retired, I have my neighborhood that I will do PCC, PCIs. He's talking about checks on a daily basis. That is here in Western North Carolina, because you're in Western North Carolina, man. Y'all take care of stuff. And I'm checking on folks from the young to the old to make sure they got what they need. I'm not even worried about y'all. Go back to the way it used to be in the slower, good old days. I'm not worried about people in Western North Carolina. Y'all take care of each other. I lived out there. I lived in Andrews. I got to put my cat outside. I'll be right back. 30 seconds. All right, Milo. You want to go outside? You can go outside. All right. Come on, Barn. Sorry about that. One thing that's not going to change during a life-changing plague is cat behavior. You can count on cats to be cats, right? And now my dog Barney's here, and she's got the cone on her head. All right, because she's got some issues. All right. Let me see some more questions here. But cats will definitely be cats. Hey, now's a good time to get a kitten. Hey, don't bite me. Barney's biting me. She wants to play. Kenny Rhee is saying, one of the large, well-known hospitals in California started to drive-by testing only to be shut down after 2 days since the news media van showed up, causing hordes of people coming to get tested. It was planned to last at least 2 weeks, but they ran out of swab tests in 2 days. The whole program was scrapped to test high-risk ICU patients only. So sad as now it means there are a huge number of carriers walking around spreading like wildfire. One of the problems that we're going to have in the United States is we have many different cultures, and some of our cultures are highly disciplined and self-sufficient, and will, like, at a time like this, they'll become actually stronger. In like Western North Carolina, people, you see Bernie Mac, his comment. I lived up there. I lived in Andrews, North Carolina. Man, that's as North Carolina as North Carolina gets. I mean, that's as Appalachia gets. I guess Robbinsville would be slightly more, but that's right around the corner, or over that mountain. I used to go over that mountain all the time. I used to ride up there on my mountain bike and find hunting dogs and stuff. Anyway, but other cultures are going to be highly opportunistic, and it's going to be violent for sure. But then there's cultures like here in Thailand. They're going to be more cooperative, because Thais will come together at times like this. Japanese are going to come together. You can see Koreans seem to have more discipline. I don't know. I'm not there. Taiwanese, I anticipate, will be more disciplined. And Hong Kongers, there's actually a lot of cultures in Hong Kong, but certainly core Hong Kongers, I believe, will be pretty disciplined. Word Dunlap is saying CDC has choked so bad over and over, I have to consider it seems nefarious. I don't trust CDC. I've never trusted them since a long time. And it transcends this. It goes way back in time. It's just that they are serially inept. They are just not, they're not trustworthy. And our federal government in general is, tell me if this is too loud. I'm grinding my coffee. I'll do it down here. Let's see, if it's too loud, I'll stop. It's only the flu sounds like an awful lot like Monty Python. It's only a flesh wound. Exactly. It's only a flesh wound. None shall pass. I'm not getting sick. I mean, I could get sick. But even if you get sick, just make sure that, that's why work on our defenses, right? Most of us are going to we're certainly going to come across it. All of us are going to come across somebody that's got it. It's almost unimaginable that we're not going to at some point, either now or later. But whether or not then we get it's another story. And then whether or not that we have it badly is another story. And if our immune systems are strong, like getting plenty of exercise, getting plenty of sleep, get your vitamins and minerals, get, vitamin D, get you some sunlight, and, keep calm and keep relaxed, and use this as an opportunity to do something good. Ute in Deutschland is saying, Mike, bitte antworte. Please answer. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, Ute. I assumed only sick people could test, maybe with doctor's approval, is what Melanie said. I don't know. Yeah, Peggy Pete saying the next thing is the positive results will shoot up the numbers infected and media will go nuts. Yeah, exactly. As these test kits do in the United States finally get out there, all of a sudden they'll go, oh my gosh, look at these numbers. And, of course, we already know people are paying attention that there's, there's your group thinking chameleon. I haven't heard a thing yet about chemtrails, and that makes me happy. Actually, most of my readership is quite educated, so you don't see a lot of that. Some, but the thing about conspiracy theories is some of them are actually authentic because we know conspiracies do happen all the time. But then there's some that are just absolutely ridiculous, like the moonwalking thing. Like, it really would be a lot harder to fake it than to just do it. You know what I mean? It would be so hard to fake a moonwalk, especially for people that know Americans very much. It would be super hard to fake a moonwalk landing. You know what I mean? It would be super, super hard. Meanwhile, we just went through all this, impeachment proceedings while this virus was creeping up on us. I mean, talk about fake news. I mean, they're doing this impeachment thing, whether or not you like Trump. Everybody's focused. A huge amount of people are focused on that little mouse that's may or may not be true. When we got a whole pack of a whole pride of lions coming up on us, viral lions. And we're like, look at the mouse. And all around us are these lions coming in the form of this virus. Let's see. Michelle Witzel had a medical professional, as she called herself, try to mock me in the store while I was wearing a mask. I have COPD. She wanted to engage me in argument, but some guy coughing nearby, the words of Michael.Yon in my head. You can't fix stupid. I just walked away. Did my mask test run. Thanks for suggesting we do a test run wearing our mask. Yeah, definitely. It's very good. Wear your mask in your home. You know what I mean? So you get used to it. Wear your mask and wear your gloves, latex, around your home for a while. Just wear them for a few hours in a comfortable setting where you feel comfortable and relaxed. So that way, it's just something I learned in the Army. Like, wear all your helmet and stuff when you're happy and everything's cool. And so then you get used to wearing, that helmet all the time and everything. And that way, when it gets to be really uncomfortable situations, you're not like taking your helmet off, because, obviously that's a big deal at times. Good. Paul says, I'll be blocking these people who spread crap. That's a good idea. And if more of us block them, then they'll have less opportunity to spread their nonsense, which is going to kill. Interest rates dropped to 0%. Kenny Ree said, wow. I mean, they're trying to give money away. His cat has early warning signs of corona, of G's disease. My cats. I love my cats. People are like, I never thought you would love cats. I thought you'd only love like big giant Rottweiler dogs. I'm like, I grew up with cats and dogs and squirrels and stuff. I love birds and stuff. Sometimes I think what's happening now is Mother Nature is just really, we finally just pissed her off to the point where she's like, look, you polluted my air. You polluted my water. You polluted my soil. You've polluted my rivers. You've polluted my seas. You've thrown your plastic everywhere. You cut down my trees. and you're not paying attention. You're just destroying everything I gave you. And here, have some virus. I don't know. I'm sure that's not how it really works, but in fantasy land, not a good fantasy either. Mother Nature's revenge. A lot of these diseases, these terrible diseases. Is this too loud as I'm doing my coffee? I need to do it quickly and it'll be finished. But they come from places where we have high biodiversity, where we've destroyed a lot of the biodiversity. That's one place they come from. Another, these infectious disease experts, epidemiologists and others, they've been warning us for generations, not just months, not just years. They've been warning us specifically about wet markets in China. So that's why when people are hitting me with this could be a weapon from the Wuhan lab, well, it could be actually. It could actually be. But keep it in mind, the infectious disease experts have been warning us for years that these wet markets are just incubators for viral, just catastrophe on a global scale, which we're about to experience. And I mean, we are every one of us now. Remember all your grandparents tell World War II stories? Well, you're going to have your World War virus stories that are going to be epic. Where Jennifer says, where am I now? I'm in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Your name is familiar. I think there was a doctor by your name on, he's an infectious disease expert by your last name, Osterloh. I saw him in an interview recently. He's super smart dude, man. I don't know if you're related to him, if he's your brother or husband or something. Tell him hello. Yeah. Robin says, hand sanitizer does not work as advertised. Oh, my grinder's still not done. It's not as ineffective. Yeah, somebody was coming to do some work here the other day, and he's like, I got hand sanitizer. I'm like, no. We have hand sanitizer, but what you really need is soap and water. Mother Nature provides pretty much everything we need. You want to sanitize stuff? There's the sunshine. Thank you, Mother Nature. You want, as long as we don't, abuse Mother Nature and we pay attention, a lot of what we need is just right there in front of us. Let's see. Washing hands or saturate alcohol and let 70% let evaporate. Could my cat be a CCP spy? Could be. Cat whisperer. Actually, I use my cats for tricep exercises. Like when they come and start bothering me, and I'm like, well, let's just kill two birds with one stone, and I'll just do 50 reps with the cat. I can't do 50 reps with her because she's too heavy, because she's actually, and also she gets angry at about 20, 25 reps, and she'll start hitting me. But I can get a good, 20 reps out of her anyway. But the kittens, I can get, I can get like 50 reps. There's no way I can get like 100 or 400. I'd like to do, but I can't do that because they'll freak out. But they like it at first. At first, I can feel them when I'm doing triceps with the kittens. They'll be like purring, and then after a while, they're like, okay, that's enough. Okay, let me down. And I'm like, come on, 4 more reps. It's like, and yeah, Ron is like, technically speaking, this is influence or whatever. You get what I'm saying. I know you get what I'm saying because you're super intelligent. Technically, it's all these things. But what they're saying is, and what I'm saying, and what we're crystal clear talking about is, they're just saying, it's just the flu. Why are you panicking? And we're like, talk to the hand. Don't have time for it. Susan Richardson says, as of today, flights from Shanghai are landing in Vancouver, BC. Unbelievable. Yeah, and they're talking about closing the borders with the United States. What a bunch of clowns. It's like, and they should. They actually should. But meanwhile, and the United States and Canada should close our borders. And actually, all of our states should close our borders between states. We should lock down like a submarine right now. You know what I mean? Like, everybody go to your homes. Everybody go to your apartments, your condos, your whatever, your barracks. And because that's one way we can tamp this bad boy down, and then at least meet it on something of our schedule instead of only on its schedule. Mother Nature don't play. Mother Nature does not play. Yes, I'm in Thailand. So how's Barney's health? She's sitting right here sleeping now. She's sleeping. She walked in here and bit me, and then she fell asleep. She's a street dog. She found me on the streets some 3 or 4 years ago, and then we've been, she's my Barney now. And if I don't pay attention, she'll just walk in and bite me and fall asleep. I love Barney. Let's see. Yeah, word Dunlap says it's a wildfire, a couple of clusters, and soon the hospitals are swamped. When the average person sees people they know die, the attitudes will change fast. Yeah, it's getting that way. One of the problems that people have been so slow about is they're busy. Everybody's busy. Like one time, I almost got hit with a hurricane, and I'm Mr. like pay attention all the time, right? But I was studying really hard. I was in Florida. I don't remember what I was studying, but I was studying really hard. And I was studying, so I was only focused on my studies, right? And I didn't remember what I was studying, but it was something important to me. And then I went to Publix on 43rd Street, I think, right there in Gainesville, I think it was, and something like that. And I go, or 34th Street, I don't remember. And so I go up there and like everybody's shopping. I'm like, uh-oh, what's going on here? And everybody's like, you didn't know there was a hurricane? I was like, oh, that's pretty embarrassing, especially for me who's supposed to know all the time. But I was studying something very hard. So there was a lesson for me to improve myself. Like, okay, even if you get total focus on something, you need to actually at least spend a few minutes every day checking if there's Godzilla coming, as opposed to I'm just going into my hole. I'm only going to read books. I'm only going to read, a lot of people are like, I'm going to shut out the news because it's so much nonsense. It is. A lot of it is. But it is good to at least check the news 10 minutes a day just to see if Godzilla's coming, and it's important to check local news because remember, if I was in Philippines or Japan or Germany checking news, I wouldn't care what's, a typhoon that's somewhere very far away. It wouldn't be on that news. But if you're not going to see it on a lot of things that are very important to you locally, of course, are not going to be on national news. But they can be vital life-threatening stuff local, like wildfires and stuff. So check your local news at least daily. And then national and international news as well. Just do it quickly. Hey, is there anything on here really important I need to know about? Like, did 10 million people die last month from some disease? What? You know what I mean? It's like, that's important. Melanie says, your Persian's cats stay inside. Mine go outside all the time, but then I let them stay in. Robin says, do I trust vaccines then? Well, I'd say that's a good question. I got a bunch of vaccines yesterday to return to India, right? But then the insurgency broke out in Hong Kong, and so I ended up in the Hong Kong insurgency helping out over there. So yeah, I'll get my own vaccines. One of the things, though, and I've been saying for years that, I think you're going overboard on the anti-vaxxer thing, right? However, they have a point. Many of our vaccines are made in China, and China is not allowing our FDA, our Food and Drug Administration, to do the sort of oversight that they should be doing. They are not, it's not like that they're completely crazy, the anti-vaxxers. They're not completely crazy at all. People are trying to gaslight them like, oh, you're just crazy or uneducated. But when you really look at it a little bit more, no, because the people that really want to make the anti-vaxxer look bad, anti-vaxxer, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I want to state it clearly. I got a bunch of vaccines last year for my return to India. The people that want to make them look bad, they look for the one that's the worst on camera and saying the most ridiculous things, and then they put the camera in his or her face, and everybody's like, "Look, they're all crazy," because they'll find one that actually is crazy, right? But actually, there is actually valid points to a lot of their arguments. Now there's something, but again, I get my vaccines, but now with all the lies I've seen come from CDC and the Surgeon General about this. This latest pandemic, it calls into question everything because, if a gas gauge is wrong, There's no such thing as a gas gauge that's wrong sometimes. If the gas gauge is like, if I looked at it this morning and it said empty, and then I looked at it again and I didn't move the car, and now it says full, and now it says half, and now it says full, and now it says empty again, I'm just going to be like, the gas gauge doesn't work, period. And Jerome Adams, the Surgeon General, is a gas gauge that doesn't work, period. He's lied. He's straight up lied about this disease numerous times. And CDC has as well. So are they trustworthy on vaccines? Trust is paramount. Thou shalt not lie. There's a reason why that's like in the 10 Commandments, right? I mean, it's like trust, social trust is vital. It's life and death. It's life and death. And they have proven to be untrustworthy. Am I an anti-vaxxer? No. But now we've got anti-maskers, people that are anti-mask, like the lady in the pharmacy saying, looking down on one of our fine readers saying, people, putting down people that are wearing masks. The anti-mask, the Surgeon General, Jerome Adams, is an anti-masker. He's an anti-masker. He's like against people wearing masks. He's unbelievable. He's just dirt to me. He no longer exists as a Surgeon General. He has to be fired. I will not respect anything from Jerome Adams, period. It's too late. He doesn't have the moral fiber to be my Surgeon General. He's not. He's in that position, but he's not that to me. Scott Mallon down in Bangkok. Hey, Michael, stay safe. Bangkok shoppers are getting a little crazy now. The family is pretty much 100% isolated. Good man. Counting on being here for a while. Good man. I was watching one of your podcasts the other day. I met Scott over in Hong Kong, man. He was rolling out in the streets getting tear gassed. Good man, Scott, and stay on it. Nancy, CDC. I was watching one of your podcasts to get an atmospheric on what's going on down there. Let's see. I didn't even say hello because I had it running over here, and I'm like, okay, what's Scott saying? And then I got other things I'm watching. How do I keep my pets bug free? I take. Well, I mean, they're not around other people if you're talking about virus free from this, but I put tick medication on them. Right now, I haven't seen any ticks on them this year, and actually, I didn't see any ticks on Barney last year, but I got her tick medication is literally, I can see it. So it's sitting right here in front of me. So if I see one tick, it's going straight on her. And then I've got the pills too. Okay. You're welcome, Alice. Okay, let's see here. I'm looking for Kim Barlow. Michael, I was inspired by the Nigerian community after a Facebook friend in Nigeria marked himself safe after an industrial gas explosion. Hundreds of Nigerians were going online to offer food, shelter, etc. to their community. When good together, there is less suffering. Yeah, when people come together, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wow, so many. So I'm shooting right down to the bottom of the comments. Uta Simbach is saying Tuesday Bavaria is shut down. Donnerstag wird Bavaria. Well, I used to live in Bavaria, and that's my favorite part of the world is Bavaria, Österreich, Austria, and the northern part of Italy, which is shut down now. That is such a wonderful area of the world. It's just incredible. And I would imagine, I'm surprised they didn't shut down earlier. Yeah, pleading the fifth. If someone says something about you wearing a mask, just cough and they will leave you alone. Actually, when I was reading her comment about 5 or 10 minutes ago, I was thinking the same thing. If somebody gives me a hard time, I'm just going to start going, here, hold on, let's talk about this. I'll take my mask off, Let's see. Check your email, Richard says. I will, but I can't check it right now. And if Richard is sending me a message to check my email, I actually really should check it right now because Richard is one of my closest advisors. Hold on. Sorry about that. And I've said all the main things I want to say for now. I'm just answering questions. If you have anything, I'm going to try to answer them. And let me see if Richard's saying something that needs to be said to the group. Oh. Okay. Okay. Oh, boy. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay. Oh. Okay. Okay. Basically giving me a medical update for Winter Haven, Florida. Apparently, the disease hasn't hit hard there yet, but there's a lot of rumors flying around. And he's kind of, I know numerous doctors and others in Winter Haven and other people that are in one way or another connected to the medical community, married to them or whatever. And others I just know directly because they're doctors and whatnot. And so Winter Haven, where I'm from, hasn't been really hit hard yet. Of course it will be. Let's see. Georgine, as did my first grandson. He is severely autistic, started after he got shots at 15 months. He was verbal and social before that time. Yeah, Kirk is saying growing herbs is another simple way to flavor the emergency food for comfort. Again, very important. And Kirk is bringing up something really important. You want to feel good, right? Obviously. And so make sure you got all the spices and all that you need. Hot peppers, if you like hot peppers, and all kinds of oregano, all that stuff. Pepper, I love pepper. It's got a lot of vitamin C, by the way. I say that again and again. So, some things like that. And make sure you got plenty of salt, of course. Some people will forget about salt, so make sure you don't forget about that. Make sure when you go to the store, my technique is first I don't need anything now, but walk up and down the aisles. Walk up and down the aisles, check everything. Even if you've made your list, go up and down every single aisle and take your time and look, because then you're going to go, oh, I forgot that. Oh, good. I'm glad I walked down the aisle, or your imagination. You know how it goes. Just you know what I'm saying. And then one technique I'll use is walk up and down the aisles, and then also then walk back the other direction, coming as well, and just to just to make sure you didn't miss anything. And do the same at the hardware store, right? Go hardware store, pharmacy, walk up and down every aisle, look at every single shelf. What did I forget here? Is there something I forgot? Do I have enough betadine? Do I have enough, hydrogen peroxide? Do I have enough Listerine or whatever you use? Dental floss, all these things, toothpaste, soap, all these sorts of things. And also remember these like protein drinks that bodybuilders and that use. When all the food's gone out, like that stuff, like is still highly available on Amazon as of yesterday. So you can get a lot of that. It's not that expensive, but but just as a backup, just like a couple jugs of that can be a big help for in case things really get bad. And a multivitamin and vitamin D. And also, there's many things that we can do to defend ourselves. One is sharing information the way we're doing now. This is massive. This is like probably the number one most important thing to do. First is share information, and start blocking everybody that are just calling this the flu. Start just blocking them because they're taking up bandwidth, and we got to reduce signal to noise ratio. We got to filter out the noise, and we want to get good signal. And so, let's see, what is Anna Marie saying? Oregon, hello in Oregon. Oh, Melanie Coggill saying, I stopped going to church because there was a lot of elderly people in St. Martin's and Louisville. I don't want to go get sick, and it was to have to carry it. One thing, now is the time to stop going to church. Not stop, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. And like when I in Winter Haven, Florida, I grew up going to the First Nazarene Church. You guys know where that is? People from Winter Haven, you know where it's at. And one thing about First Nazarene Church was that they would every week people would come visit the old people. Like everybody, if somebody doesn't come to church, they notice. They'll be like, hey, where's Brother Smith? You know, somebody will like drive over to his house. You know, I mean, they're not like dragging you to church. It's not like that, but they're looking out for each other, you know, and they're definitely looking out for each other. And so if you're involved in a church like that, you've got your tribe, you know what I mean? You're going to be much stronger together, much stronger together, and psychologically stronger as well. I keep saying it over and over. Every time I see a catastrophe, you know, comes out of the woodwork, it's always the church groups. You know what I mean? They're all everywhere. And also here in Thailand, it'll be Buddhist groups. And also Sikhs do it all the time. And I've seen a lot of Muslims do it too. They'll come out of the woodwork and they'll help. But since I'm American, and a lot of other places I've seen, like over in the insurgency in Hong Kong, the church groups are coming out helping all the time. I'm not giving away any secrets. They're doing it right in front of the cops. Church groups are coming right out in front of the cops, man. Church groups are getting beat up by the cops, are getting arrested, getting beat down. Yellow object. Remember, you know what I'm talking about? Yellow object. There's the one church group that are wearing yellow all the time to show who they are. And the police got caught on a video beating up a man wearing yellow. And then when the Hong Kong police were called out on that, the police chief was like, well, or police spokesman or whatever, I don't remember who he was. It was like, well, it was a yellow object. Everybody could transparently see that was one of the Christians, old guy they beat up, right? Oh, that just made everybody. That's why when you hear Hong Kongers call the police green objects, they're referring to yellow objects, you know, because the police have so dehumanized the population in Hong Kong that the Hong Kongers have responded by dehumanizing the police, and we know where that can go. And but man, so yeah, when I grew up, Glenn is saying, not to change the subject, but how did you get into cannibal hunting? It sounds like a crazy story. Oh, it's crazy. My friends in Winter Haven, Florida, where I grew up, like going to church with and stuff, they can't hear enough of this story. They're like, come over to our house. The kids want to hear the cannibal story and stuff. It's like, oh man, it takes hours just to give you the end briefing. It was just, I was in India and came across this naked cannibal one time. It just goes on and on from there. And then I found all these Westerners, like in Italy. I went to Mezzago, Italy, which is near Milano. There was some part of the cult was up there. And then one from Houston. He was the epic. That guy from Houston, his life is just unbelievable. Actually, his daughter took a DNA test for me, and I was able, and all the things that he told me about his family tree actually were very, very accurate, except for I wasn't able to prove or disprove that he was related to Robert Louis Stevenson, the author. He may be actually, but I've tried very hard to prove or disprove that, and I haven't been able to prove it or disprove it. And I've tracked ancestral lineage from Robert Louis Stevenson, you know, the great author, Treasure Island and all that, who also wrote about cannibalism. And I've contacted groups that, you know, or that still follow Robert Louis Stevenson. And then I tracked Gary the Cannibal's lineage going back, and he really is from Scotland originally, as he told me, and it was true. Actually, he's from Houston, but his family came over to America roughly the same time mine did, 1700s, that sort of stuff. Or mine came in 1609, my mother's side. Anyway, not to go into that. But the bottom line is it's such an epic story. And Gary the Cannibal from Houston, he hates people he hates anti-vaxxers. So if it makes you feel any better, if you're a anti-vaxxer, there is a cannibal from Texas that hates anti-vaxxers. And why? Because he got polio. He got polio in June of 1952 when he was 2.5 years old. He was born in December of 1950, and he got polio when he was 2.5, and they didn't have a vaccine yet because in Houston, was an epicenter for this pandemic. So for the polio pandemic, that might be my niece in Canada. My and if let me see if this is my niece in Canada. It's not. Okay, just if it is, I needed to answer immediately. She's only 20 and she's starting to worry about this thing. So, but yeah, he got caught up in a pandemic, right? He got polio. And so, and we didn't have vaccines until, just a few years later, right? And so for the rest of his life, I'm spoiling this story to tell you some of this, but for the rest of his life, he was trying to find a way to heal his leg. And so that's part of what led him into being a cannibal. But nobody knows that but you and me now. I've never told anybody that. But that, I mean, in my severe research, talking with him hundreds of hours, videotapes, audios, with him in India, Nepal, Thailand. I took him to Massachusetts. I really researched his story. And he actually, weirdly, this only dawns on me now, his cannibalism, weirdly, wow, is a result of a pandemic. Wow. It's actually just dawned on me. It took me years. It took me a long time to figure out, not necessarily years, but it took me a long time to figure out that his cannibalism came from the polio. It took time, but I figured it out. And then actually it's crystal clear once you have all the things in place. But actually, we should talk about that sometime. It's a wild story. And he ended up reading a book. He ended up reading a book called The Autobiography of a Yogi, and went on this long journey. And it's a long story. Some people watching this have probably read Autobiography of a Yogi. I've got a copy here. I've read it several times, tracking his life and whatever. It's more to it than that, Melanie. It didn't just go straight to eating people to fix his polio. It was much more than that. It was a progressive chain of events. And if you look at him and go, that guy's a cannibal, it's a freak out story, right? But then when you look at actually where he came from, like his dad was an army officer in World War II. He was in Papua New Guinea, actually. And so was his uncle. And his uncle was also an enlisted man in World War II. And he was flying the hump from India, to do the resupply stuff over in China. And he had a pet monkey and stuff. That was his uncle, right, in World War II. One time I was sitting with Gary the Cannibal in Canada. I'm not Canada. And his wife was from Canada. One time I was sitting with him in a restaurant in India. And he told me about his uncle who had been killed. And when his uncle was in the Army Air Corps at that point, I think he was killed in Texas in an airplane crash. And so I was recording that. And so I contacted the Air Force and I got the records actually. And yep, his uncle was actually killed. It was definitely his uncle because his daughter did a DNA test for me and I was able to absolutely confirm his family tree. Like that's it for sure. And yep, that's definitely his uncle. All these things that he told me all turned out to be true, except for a couple things and I checked with the Cherokee tribe. He said he had Cherokee blood coming from his mother's side and his father's. And I checked that in detail. Remember, people from the South, like Texas, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Tennessee, a lot of us think that we have Cherokee blood. It's like normal. So when Elizabeth Warren actually said she has Cherokee blood, and actually she's actually being, I don't like her, but she's actually being honest that a huge amount of Americans think that they have Cherokee blood and they don't. That's why Cherokee Indians are like Mormons when it comes to tracing family trees. They are very good at it, super good. And Cherokees actually helped me eliminate that he had Cherokee blood in him. There was no evidence of that, but that he believed that is totally believable because I've been told the same thing about my family, and it's just a normal Southern thing. Melanie's saying, did he do it out of mental illness? Well, I don't think he was mentally ill, actually. If you look at him from the outside, you would go, he's got to be mentally ill. He's a cannibal. But then you look at the chain of events that led him to get there. it doesn't support that. Now, what is mental illness? Of course, psychologists have wrestled with this since forever, right? And I don't know. Now, his teeth were bad towards the end of his life, and that can be a sign of mental illness, but it's unknown. Like when I looked into this with infectious disease experts, actually, and psychologists and whatnot on the tooth decay thing, it's unclear, actually. I mean, because that could be from other things, but anyway, if you look at the video, and I'll publish some of those at the right time when we get to that. It takes a lot of work to assemble everything, but he's just one, and I think he may have been a serial killer, actually, but I'm unclear about that. But not a serial killer, I don't think in the pathological sense like Ted Bundy or something, but I think he just had a low threshold for killing people. Let's put it that way. He almost killed me, actually. He missed. I'm still alive. And so, yeah, it's a very interesting. He read the book called Autobiography of a Yogi because his mother read it. And if you read that book, which I've read it closely, like I said, several times, and I've studied it because of studying how did he get here. Guess who else read that book? You're not going to believe it. Mr. Apple himself, Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs, you're not going to believe what I'm going to tell you next. Steve Jobs read that book when he was 19, and he then traveled to the same places in India where Gary the Cannibal would end up being because they both read the same book. And they both crossed the same bridge that the Beatles crossed. Like George Harrison read the same book from the Beatles. And Gary the Cannibal, I think, was friends with George Harrison. But anyway, Steve Jobs and Gary the Cannibal ended up at the same temple in San Francisco. Yeah, I'm the only one that knows that, and you, right? And just a very few other people I've told. So I just now made it public. I've never said that publicly before. I've told just a few people, only a very handful of people, and I've only told them that recently. But that they actually ended up. So Steve Jobs said that he would read that same book, Autobiography of a Yogi, one time every year for the rest of his life since he was 19. He would read that book, Autobiography of a Yogi, every year, one time or something like that. And then he gave away hundreds at his funeral. When he died, that was one of the things that people came to Steve Jobs' funeral, they got a copy of that book, right? And it said, I don't know if it's true. I read a lot about Steve Jobs when I realized that interesting connection with Gary the Cannibal. I don't know if they were friends or knew each other. If Gary told me that and it's on one of our audios and videos, I'll find it sooner or later, but I don't remember him saying that. But I do know that they were at the same temple in San Francisco together. I know that because Steve Jobs talked about being at that temple, and Gary used to tell me about being at that temple. And it's only much later did I put that together. I was like, wait a minute. You both read that same book, both ended up in the same places in India about it, both were into all these dietary health things, which led to, Steve Jobs had some problems with that. And they both ended up at that temple in San Francisco. Really, really interesting parallels. Anyway, long story. But that's just part of it. That's just a tiny part. All right. Is the cannibal still alive? Negative. He's dead. Glenda asks. He tried to kill me. I did not kill him, by the way. I was thousands of miles away. Okay, Uta Sumbach says, and again, Germany shuts down and the company registration of German bank Speyer is deleted. Wait a minute. Check Fed News 2. I don't have any idea what is going on here. Ryan Trainer said, the only area of cannibalism I'm familiar with is survival cannibalism. I've read a lot about the Franklin expedition to the Arctic in 1845. It is recorded by the Inuit that survivors from this English expedition to discover the lofted Northwest Passage were starving and resorted to this. It's also occurred at Jamestown. Right. Actually, my mother's side, the Easons, E-A-S-O-N, they came to Jamestown right when the cannibalism was going on. Like the cannibalism was going on in the 1609, 1610, right? During, so many terrible things had happened. And so my family came over and Shakespeare wrote a play about it called The Tempest, right? You've probably heard of The Tempest. And my family left, or my mother's side, the Easons, E-A-S, look up E-A-S-O-N, Eason, that's my mother's side, and Bermuda, 1609, right? And then just web search that, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. That's my family they're talking about. So they were coming over on ships to go to Jamestown, right? And they got hit with maybe a hurricane or something. They got shipwrecked on Bermuda. And but there was plenty of food. There was wild pigs there. There was no Indians. There's no humans lived on Bermuda. And there was lots of birds. There was all kinds of fish. They had a couple of Indians with them that they had brought over to England, and because they were the Virginia company would bring like Indians over to England and whatnot to get investors, right? They'd be like, "Oh, the Indians are very friendly. Look." Meanwhile, the Indians are like, "We're kidnapped," And so they brought the Indians over to show off how friendly they are because they're trying to get people to colonize, right? And so my family got on a ship, came over to colonize, promptly got hit by a big storm, may have been a hurricane, got shipwrecked on Bermuda. We're shipwrecked there for about 9 months, and then with all the other castaways, not castaways, castaway is different than shipwrecked, Anyway, not to go into that, but anyway, so they got they built 2 more ships, ended up over in Jamestown. They show up to Jamestown, and they were doing cannibalism because so many terrible things had happened. And then they wanted to go back to England. They're like, "We're out of here," and the captain of the ship was like, "No way," And so that's when my family landed, was right in that cannibalism. But my family had plenty of food because they had been on Bermuda, and they thought that they had it rough. The reason that we know all this is because Jamestown, the Virginia company had hired an author. He was a writer to write basically propaganda about how good about how good it was going to be in the New World, right? There's like gold coming through the streams, flecks. You can see it in the sunlight, glistening in the sunlight, just gold, and everything just grows, perfect soil. Well, that's true. It's like great water. The Indians are friendly. They were friendly at the beginning until we mistreated them and everything. And then the Indians obviously started killing, big wars that lasted forever, still going on, and more or less. And so they ended up having some terrible times due to a drought and so many other things. And then they had diseases at the Jamestown settlement. While my family was shipwrecked, they still had plenty of food. They thought it was terrible in Bermuda to be shipwrecked. But then when they got to Jamestown with those 2 ships that they built out of cedar, right? I think cedar. Anyway, they got to Jamestown, and they're like, "Wow, we had it really good on Bermuda." In fact, the captain wanted to send a ship back to Bermuda to bring more food back to Jamestown, but the winds were not favorable. So they couldn't get back to Bermuda because the winds wouldn't let them get back to Bermuda. So they started fishing up and down the East Coast to try to feed the people at Jamestown. Long story. Let's see. Uta Simbach is saying, because of the virus, the Bundestag was sent home for 6 weeks. Bundestag basically is like, well, that's their government, right? That's like the Congress, you might say, more or less, right? Robin Williams, Donner, party of 5. Well, that survival cannibalism is one thing, but there's many different types of cannibalism. There's like survival cannibalism, then there's which happens a lot. And actually, if there's a famine from this in China or any other place, you'll see cannibalism will always come up. People will go to cannibalism quite quickly, actually. Not everybody. Some people will actually starve to death before they go to cannibalism. And others, there's been people that will starve to death before they eat something that's not within their religious dietary constraints. For instance, at times, Hindus have been known to starve to death even while they're surrounded by cows. They won't eat the cows. A lot will not. But actually, these Aghoris, see, he became an Aghori, right? Agor in Sanskrit language means not terrible, right? And so they will eat anything, like anything. And so and they'll tell you, like when I would talk with Gary the Cannibal, he's like, "I'll never starve to death because, I've overcome everything. I'm not disgusted by anything. I will eat anything." And so if there's a big famine, who cares? Famine feast. It's a feast for the Aghoris. If there's a famine, there's no famine for us. And so it's a long story. I could talk about it for days. I've really studied these guys. And it's very, very interesting. But no, he's dead. Oh, Roxanne, you have no idea. I've only told you the tip of the iceberg. It's the most amazing. That's why I say it's the most amazing story I've ever seen. All right. We can shut off now and let's see what Jenna Thacker. I hope I didn't miss any really important questions because there's so many I can't see them all. Jenna Thacker says, bought a pulse of ox off Amazon for a worst case scenario since problems arise when it turns into pneumonia. A pulse ox. You bought a pulse ox off of Amazon. What's a pulse ox? When it turns into pneumonia. I wanted to stay out of hospitals and check my own stats. LOL. Oh yeah, make sure you buy a thermometer. I know it sounds trivial, but make sure you get one and start, taking your temperature. I got that one, and then I got this one electronic, and write it down even as a baseline now when you don't have a fever. And then if you start to think you're getting sick, remember, dry cough and fever within 24 hours of each other is a symptom of this thing. And so, and feeling lethargic, feeling achy muscles, that sort of, but dry cough and fever within 24 hours of each other. But start writing down your temperature hourly, and actually write it down so that you can tell the doctor and hopefully not have to go in, because maybe the doctor say, no, don't have to worry about that. Stay home. Or the doctor might say, okay, we'll take the next action right now. Larry's, hello in Las Vegas. That's where I started writing my first book, Danger Close. Or that's where the first chapter starts. That's Danger Close. That's a great book. You should read it. Let's see. But Lori says, so is cannibalism a cultural thing? Oh, yeah, it can be. Absolutely. There's still a lot of cannibalism in the world. A lot. A lot of people don't realize it. It's actually pretty common. It happens quite a lot. I have it programmed into my Google Net alerts, and so I'll get articles about it pretty much more or less daily. It's more common than you might think, but for some reason we always write it off as an anomaly, like, oh, there's that guy again, because crazy people will do it, but then crazy people also eat hamburgers, and crazy people also eat apples. But obviously, a lot of people that like get on bath salts and eat somebody's face off or whatever. I don't know what that guy did, but that's a different story. Let's see. Nicholas Randistas is saying in 2009 to 2010, thousands, 28 to I think was no panic after the impeachment failed. I think it's going to be, let's see what Kim is saying. The recent Korean research, Kim Barlow is saying, the recent Korean research determined that the population that spreads the virus most often were the 20-somethings. I read that, like 20 to 30 or so. The college students carry the virus to the vulnerable population. Actually, Melanie's saying, wow, the desperation to eat people thinking that he could fix his polio. My Aunt Garlene was the only child out of 7 to not get polio. Man, vaccine, and she is crippled from it. Yeah. But if you actually look in history, cannibalism is quite common, like, for medicinal reasons or whatever, just nutrition. Still do it in Africa. Or for religious reasons or whatever. Look at the Catholic Church even today, the flesh in the Eucharist, right? I mean, it's an effigy. The wine is in the crackers and all that. And so it still actually happens even in effigy, but we don't look at it like that. We look at, oh no, that's just normal. But actually, it is normal, but it is clearly an echo of something else, the body and blood of Christ, right? Dan King is saying, can we look up your cannibal hunting story somewhere to read about it or see video about it? Internet search on YouTube. There's very little that I've published. Very, 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 very little. It is super interesting. And what I've told you now is just the tip of the iceberg. It is like 1,000 times more interesting than that. It was epic. It was utterly epic. It was the story of my life. Let's put it that way. Even beyond all the combat and wars and other things that happened, the cannibal hunting is something that I can actually talk about openly. That was just unbelievably interesting and happening all around us. Like not necessarily cannibalism all around us, but but so many things. I'll tell you more about it, but I need to do it in a logical order so that you're not giving you bits and pieces here and you get kind of confused by the story. I need to have it in a sequence that you'll go, okay, this is how it actually unfolded. And then bing, I got him, and then all this other stuff, and then that guy dies, and then this other guy dies, and then she dies, and all this. It was. This isn't the story where everybody comes out okay. Let's put it like that. It's a wonder I came out okay. And this water filter is the one that I used during the cannibal hunting. I still got it here. My cat died. Almost whacked him in the head with it one time. Let's see. Put it back together. Okay. When is the book, Kim? Oh yeah, Kim saying rituals. Native Americans ate the heart of brave enemy. Many will eat hands for strength, hearts, livers, or drink out of skulls. Skull. He used to drink out of a skull all the time. And you know, he would do urine therapy. If you know what urine therapy is, drink his own urine. There's books about urine therapy. People do urine therapy. Millions of people do urine therapy around the world. I think Madonna was washing her feet with her own urine or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong. Don't sue me, Madonna, if it's not true. I don't want to spread. I wish I could pull that back. I don't have proof of that, and it doesn't matter anyway. I don't give a crap. So to me, it's not an insult. I'm like, well, if you want to wash your feet with your urine, go ahead. If it makes your feet better. I don't care. Actually, when I was in the Army, they taught us that, if you get shot or whatever and you don't have saline or whatever to wash it out, just wash it out with your own urine. That's normal. I mean, when I've been cut at places or got hurt in different places and I have no medical, I've used my own urine to clean it before. I learned it in the Army. I mean, it's important. Mother Nature gave us a lot of stuff, man. We got to, use it. You know what I mean? Why do I need betadine? The Army taught me I can use maggots to clean wounds. And maggot, I've never personally done maggot therapy, but when I write the book on the cannibals, it'll be probably 5 books. You are going to be, it's like Harry Potter in real life, except it's like even more intense. Oh, I hope you like Danger Close, Melanie. But Kim, I want to help overthrow the Chinese Communist Party, and I want Hong Kong to be free. And then I'm writing my cannibal books, come hell or high water. And I'm going to write my Deuce 4 books, and I'm going to write 5-2 Stryker Brigade Combat Team book. Man, I shouldn't be covering up Stryker Brigade Combat Team. Hey, that's my latest book in Japan, by the way, if you speak Japanese. Came out like 2 weeks ago now. Right at perfectly bad timing, huh? Because now, nobody's thinking about, this is about Chinese information war. It's my 3rd book on Chinese information war. Man, kind of bad timing on release, but that's the way it goes. We're all going to suffer financially. It's not, you don't make much money on books like this anyway. I depend on, actually, I think when my cannibal books come out, at that point, we'll probably make plenty of money on those books, and I won't have to ask for donations on Patreon or anything anymore. But, when I'm going off fighting communists and stuff like that, or helping with this virus, it's the only way I can fund it is like Patreon and PayPal and that sort of thing. But I think when I do the cannibal series, I think after that there'll be no money problems. Because you're gonna see this cannibal story unfolds in so many different, across the United States, across Europe, here in Thailand. He used to live here in Chiang Mai, down the road, Italy, Germany, France, and all these places I went to research it, like France, Italy, Germany, Hawaii. Several times. And I've got to go back to Hawaii one more time, researching it again. California at Sonoma, in Sonoma, California, San Francisco. Man, it's such incredible. But when is it going to be? I don't know. Let's wait until we've destroyed the Chinese Communist Party. And then I'm not going to get sidetracked on anything less than like this incredibly terrible virus. Gosh, why does this happen? Why does this have to happen during our lifetimes? Yeah, I think I will probably make money on that, Gladys. But until that time, I still have to go on. Still, the thing is, strategically, I thought, I should stop everything I'm doing and just write my cannibal books and then make a boatload of money on that, which I think I will. And then I can go do other stuff like help with the wall and the Texas border, help Brian Kofaja down there, help help Steve or whatever doing border issues, help. I like to help people because that makes me actually feel good, but I need money to do it. I need money to live like everybody else. So I actually strategically I should, but I just saw this opportunity with Hong Kong to actually drive a stake in the heart of the CCP, and Hong Kong and Taiwan will then be free. Tibet, the Uyghurs out of Xinjiang and all the other places in Inner Mongolia. There's so many, and then we won't have to deal with them anymore with all the stuff that China's doing, stealing our IP, intellectual property, and all these things. I just want to take them out. You know what I mean? It's like take them out, and then write my cannibal books, make a lot of money, write my Deuce 4 book, write my 5-2 Striker Brigade Combat Team book, and also I want to travel around the United States and tell Americans what China has been doing with Japan, comfort women issues on the information war, and all these things. I can wrap it all into one because once I get back to finally to America and start traveling around, it's easy. Especially now I can do live casts like this. I don't have to travel around as much, but I do want to go places like Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California, and hit all the, and back to my Florida and see, I want to see all I want to see all 50 states another time. And I want to get in front of crowds of people and tell them about all these things that I've seen, all these things around the world that, Florida boy has been out there seeing firsthand. And for instance, why we need to be very serious about immigration issues. Michelle is asking, has the virus affected China's military at all? The PLA, People's Liberation Army. I would say the chances that it has not done that are low. It just had an energy issue, but my UPS did not cause us to lose signal. But you might have heard it just kick. What was Gary the Cannibal's occupation for him to be able to travel the world? Oh, interesting things. Funny question that you would ask. Diana, his dad was quite wealthy. His dad actually owned part of a golf course down there. His dad worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers, actually. He was a partner. Think about, let that soak in for people who know what I just said. And he owned part of a golf course down there in Texas. And then Gary ran away from home. He read that book, Autobiography of a Yogi, when he was 15, and he ran away from home. And he went off on this big adventure, trying to, find himself. If you read that book, and I'm sure many people on this string have read it, actually. It's quite a famous book. And again, I've read it in detail to study how did this. It's like a Huckleberry Finn book. His mother had read it. His father graduated from Texas A&M, actually. And then he was in ROTC or something, right? Anyway, he became an officer after he graduated from Texas A&M, and then he went in the military and he served in Papua New Guinea in World War II. That was his dad. And then Gary was born. And his dad had another wife. His family didn't know that. I found that his dad had another wife. Gary didn't seem to know that either, I think. Did Gary ever tell me that? I'm not sure. I'll have to listen to all our audios and all that. But I actually found that his dad had been married another time. And some of his family were like, no, he wasn't married twice. And I was like, oh, yeah, he was. Here it is. Here's a picture of him at his wedding. It was like, I found all that stuff. Actually, I found so much. It goes on and on and on. It goes on and on and on. I think Toy Stewerman says you should be on Joe Rogan, Ben Shapiro, Scott Adams, and Mark Levin. I think I was on Mark Levin before, right? A long time ago. I've been on so many shows, man. I've been on like 1,000, 2,000, a lot. I don't do that many these days, but I mean, I will if they ask me to come on. Let's see. Vin Diesel will play you in the movie version of The Cannibal Hunter. You would not believe it. It is so epic. Is Thailand in lockdown? Kevin is saying negative. Not yet. More and more things are going into effect. Quarantines. They're continuing to make more efforts, but still, like, there's international travel coming and going. There are not yet. But as I said maybe a month ago, someone who specializes on this in Thailand said that the Thais actually expect to get hit really hard in April or May, maybe Mayish. And so I'm starting to think he was right, actually, because you can see now the cases are starting. Thailand has started to really wake up in about the last week, because they can finally see, oh, this is actually starting to do that. We can actually see it now. And like I was talking about it with people yesterday, they're like, oh, they're starting to get concerned. The shelves are blowing out now. But yeah. Hey, Carrie Klein. Hope everything's good up there. I don't know who Vin Diesel is, actually. But let's see. Peter Ung, when I travel around the U.S., I'm sure I'll have connections. Yeah, I hope to meet people in every state. And I will definitely come back to Arizona, Kate. I've been to Arizona numerous times. 10 maybe? I don't know, 15? Quite a lot. It's funny. Even people that live in Arizona, a lot of them never heard of the crater, the meteor crater. Man, you got to go to the meteor crater. You can't drive down, you can't go down, drive down the interstate through, to go on the way to California through Arizona without stopping at the meteor crater. See the petrified forest, of course, and then see the meteor crater. The meteor crater is a mind blower. Look it up on Google Earth. Look it up, just meteor crater, Arizona. It's a mind blower, man. I knew about it just because I grew up reading so much science, physics, astronomy, and all that stuff. And so when I was out there, I said, I'm going to go see that crater. And then when I saw it in person, it was even more impressive in person than it was in the pictures. But my guess is, Michelle Witzel, that the virus is, the chance of it having not hit the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, which is basically the army for the Chinese Communist Party, which, imagine the Republicans or the Democrats in the United States having their own army. If the Democrats had an army, the Republicans would all be dead. If the Republicans had an army, the Democrats would all be dead. You know what I mean? Or at least quarantined. It's like, and so that's why we've got this wonderful system. Well, not always wonderful, but it's mostly wonderful. This divides the power up so much that nobody owns the army, right? That's so super important. Our forefathers were quite brilliant. Let's see. Good. Kate's already been there to the meteor crater. Yeah, I think I went to that Titan Museum in Arizona. Was it in Arizona? I've been to quite a few rocket and missile museums. Okay, I'll see you in Wisconsin, because Jan Janssen is from Wisconsin, Carrie Klein. And our federal local courts closed. Wow. Michelle, our federal and local courts have closed. The courts never closed. This is serious. Oh yeah. Now imagine this. Hey, Barney. Barney's woke up now. Hey, stop. And she's moved my curtain. Barney. Hey, Barney. Hold on. Come with me. And imagine now, what is our tax base going to do now as the economy tanks now, and it's going to tank. I mean, people are, obviously a lot of this is psychological, so you don't want to say it's going to tank, because that can bleed into making it tank. But let's be realistic. Courts are closing. Soon the IRS and all that's going to close. They're going to close. So how are they going to enforce people paying their taxes? And how many people are going to not pay their taxes and that sort of thing, whether it's sales tax at local levels or state levels or at federal level, the IRS or whatever. I mean, people are going to stop. And where's the enforceability going to come from? Especially when it's so many people, that people might just play the odds and go, well, they got to go after tax from millions and millions of people. They can never do it, especially when they're closed down. So, I mean, think about the implications of all this with our keeping our military running. Think about the vast implications. And this is why I was saying in January that this Chinese Communist Party, as we know it, is dead. I mean, as we know it, China, as we know it, is dead. It's a dead man walking because they're going to have the same problems, except they don't have the IRS and all that. But their ability to fund their military and all these things, it doesn't mean they won't use it. I'm sure they got lots and lots of ammunition and fuel in their stockpiles, and they might want to go take Taiwan at a moment of opportunity. But I will say that there will be a world before 2020 and the world of 2020, which we're in interesting times. And then there will be the world after 2020. And there will be so many things, ramifications from this. The only thing that we'll do is keep on keeping on. Yeah. You're most welcome, Kevin. Kim says the panic psychological reactions were heavily pushed by the U.S. media. Yeah, they wait till the last minute. They're like, panic. Whereas people like me are just like, stock up now, go ahead and stock up now. You know what I mean? And a lot of people did stock up back in January or, long before. And like me, I've been stocked up forever. But a lot of others now last minute, and then the media all of a sudden goes, And but the thing is if you're over about the age of 20 or 25, you should know this already. If you're like 15 years old, I get it. You're still young. You might not have a chance to, but especially if you're over about the age of 25, you need to actually realize this is human nature and you're going to have to deal with it like forever. So there's no need to keep complaining about it. There's no need to keep complaining about people that, hey, people are panicking. It's like, why are you complaining about cows, stampeding? Cows stampede, right? But like Ross Perot said, eagles don't flock, right? That's why people like us, a lot of people that come to my pages, we're more like eagles. We look out for ourselves. We look out for our crew. You know what I mean? We look out for our people. And we don't wait for CNN to tell us to run panic. We don't give a crap about CNN anyway. But we're people like us are not going to have a problem other than whoever around us are casualties, maybe us. But we're going to be grown-ups about it, right? So and that'll be that. Elizabeth says, Atwater means I never really saw that much panic. I saw lots of people who were not taking a serious situation seriously enough, finger pointing at people who are taking it seriously. And I think the problem now is that too many people are still not taking this seriously. They will soon enough. Those who haven't gotten the lesson yet will soon have it. Yeah. Okay. The U.S. military used to have decades worth of supplies, strategic supplies. I'm sure the military actually has a lot of supplies. But what's going to happen if our tax base implodes? We've already got a significant national debt, as everybody's noticed. And so there's just no ability to pay military. There's no ability to pay FBI, IRS. There's no ability to pay all these things that we need. NASA. Think about that. So we're literally in a situation where it could go that far. Will it? I don't know, but it could. And the probability is increasingly. C.F. Neal says, of course, cannibalism is in the Bible. It is. And the cannibal used to point that out to me, actually. Let's see. Rita is saying, I started prepping, says peeping, but prepping, I know what you mean. About 5 years ago, the politics of it scared the crap out of me. Yeah. Yeah. When you prep, people, they think you're weird. And now a lot of them will probably, because of this is the way a lot of human nature works. It depends on the culture. I shouldn't say human nature. Some cultures. Then people will be angry at you because you're not suffering, because you did prepare. And they'll be angry at that. A lot of people will be angry at that. So make sure you got ammo. And no warning shots. I mean, it's like come in to break into my house and steal my women and stuff, and you can get chopped to pieces. And it's not going to be like, hey, please go away. It's going to be like bang, bang, bang. Have a nice day. Don't do it, Rambo. Kim Barlow, if you want proof of CCP's desperation, look at their absurd attempts to claim the U.S. military infected China. The sheer stupidity to think anyone would fall for that is nonsense. Oh, they'll fall for it. Remember, I've written 3 books on Chinese information war. And Chinese have been doing information war long before the CCP was around. Chinese have been doing information war like so long before World War II. They've been doing information war, and very effectively. And remember, as I will continue to say it over and over, they will blame Japan and they will blame the United States. Remember that. Write it down. Michael.Yon said, China will blame Japan and they will blame the United States. That's how that crocodile hunts. That's how they go. That's how they roll. They will blame Japan and they will blame the United States. Period. That's the way it goes. That's why I didn't have to even read the Taliban treaty that I said was nonsense. And people are like, did you read it? And I'm like, I don't have to. I know the Taliban. I've been out. I've seen them too much. I've been out with them. And I was like, they won't. And then 3 days later, the treaty broke down. Or the Iran thing more recently. When did they hit our base with those ballistic missiles? And then President Trump gets up and he's like, oh, that's it. No more out of Iran. And I'm like, oh, yeah, there will be. Oh, yeah. And then look out all the people that came and commented on my message strings. You don't know what you're talking about. They won't attack again. I'm like, you don't know what you're looking at. Yes, they will. Remember the scorpion and the whatever was the fox taking it across the river or whatever, however the fable goes on different ones have different animals doing it. Anyway, I like the one on natural born killers, right? He's like the rattlesnake that bit the woman and the woman's like dying, why did you bite me? And the snake says, you knew I was a snake when you picked me up. And then he says, bitch. Yeah, exactly. Nature. Study the nature of that thing. The nature of the Chinese Communist Party is they will not take blame, period. They will cast it out on Japan and the United States. As sure as tomorrow's sunrise, they will do it. Just as sure as tomorrow's sunrise, terrorism from Iran is far from over. And the Taliban are not going to go with any peace treaty. That's ridiculous. Okay. The USA has a national strategic stockpile, as mentioned in the briefing. Oh, we got all kinds of national strategic stockpiles. Why don't we have masks? So it makes me wonder, if we don't have something as basic as masks, what else is in this national strategic stockpile? I know we got the national seed stockpile, but is it really in good condition? The national seed stockpile in case like a disease wipes out of our farms could be wiped out by, different things and by disease, for instance. So we have seeds that we keep in strategic stock, but we got all kinds of things. But do we really? Because one might assume only as long as a month ago that we must have, of course, we have a national mask stockpile. No, we don't. And it's common sense. It is common sense that we should have a national mask stockpile. I have a stockpile of masks for years. And why? In our country who has and people are now complaining about, President Trump cut down the CDC pandemic club or whatever. I'm like, what good do they do? We don't have a national mask stockpile. Close the whole damn CDC. I mean, seriously, start again. They're unbelievably inept. They're part of the problem. We don't even have a national mask stockpile. They've allowed more than 80% of our pharmaceuticals to be manufactured in China, or the active pharmaceutical ingredients, the APIs in China. These are the things that our government has done. We cannot trust, this thing, they got a national stockpile, so I don't have to go to Publix. I'll tell you what, if I were you, I wouldn't count on any national stockpile. I wouldn't count on that at all. I would count on You and your family and your friends and people like me and us that will get together and make our own community, and we'll be strong. We'll make our own tribe, right? And we'll look out for each other wherever you're at in the world. We have to look out for each other. People like us will. People keep like saying that we're panicking. You're out. You're outside the wire, and don't try to come back in. You know what I mean? This is very important. Deborah Crutchfeld. Michael, my own kids make fun of me for prepping. No matter, I still do long-term prepping. They laugh when I do my canned bacon. Yeah. Well, you know what? When I was a kid, my grandmother used to tell me all kinds of stuff. I've said this many times, and it's always sounded crazy, this, that, and the other. And even though I had some very challenging times in my childhood, very, very challenging, even hungry at times. And not like, Japanese, not Japanese, but African distended belly hungry, but hungry to the point where I would literally go hunting and stuff to feed myself. That sort of go fishing and that sort of stuff sometimes. And so, which isn't that bad because it's Florida. There's all kinds of stuff to hunt and fish. So, and I know how to do it quite well. But the point is she would tell me stuff that always sounded like, nah, it's just Granny being paranoid again. Well, she's everything she told me has turned out to be true. It has my grandmother, if she was still with us, if she told me anything about this, I'd be like, well, the other 999 things she told me were true. What's the chance of this other latest crazy thing being true? Well, she hasn't been wrong yet. So yeah, make your own soap. Make sure you got plenty of soap. I've got plenty of soap too to hand wash in the barrels and stuff. And also, of course, hand soap. Sometimes those of us who prepare and that sort of thing, we're just gonna have to put up with the insults or those of us who there's a lot of us. It's not just a few of us. There's a lot of people that do have the foresight and the courage, because it takes both, to come out and say, wow, we actually need to do this, and then to actually start doing it, and then be seen doing it, and then tell people, and then they'll go, oh, you're just crazy, and yeah, I read Atlas Shrugged, Gladys. Let's see. Kim Barlow says, American communities, especially the churches who have a long history of taking care of each other, can pull together and survive this trouble. Oh, yeah. I've said it how many times? 100 times. You know who's gonna be pillars of stability is gonna be these little churches all over the place. It's gonna be these little like churches with like 50 people in it. You know what I mean? They're gonna band together, and seen it over and over and over and over. And I'm just going with what I've seen. Bad times happen, churches come out. Sikhs come out too. And Buddhists here in Thailand see it whenever something terrible happens. All the Buddhists come out to help. They're very good. Let's see. My own, yeah. Okay, I'm trying to see if there's any really key questions I need to hit. Word Dunlap saying, I think the economy is over for a decade. We will see soon. Yeah, it's going to be severely damaged. There's no undoing that. There is no undoing that. The good side of it is there's a chance to pull this things back to America. There's a reset button. And we've wanted to cut the size of the government for a long time. A lot of us have. And, well, this is traumatic cutting. It's traumatic. It's going to be a traumatic government cut. I mean, this is the chance to revamp the entire tax system. This is it, so that we go on a sales tax and no more IRS. Get rid of them. This is a chance to do that and to go to just sales tax. And so that it's simple and everybody can do it. I have to pay X sales tax every time, bottom line. This is the chance to take a lot of the friction that, the friction within our system, resistance within our own system. We got all these things that take up so much valuable human time on nonsense rules, like so many IRS rules that nobody can ever know them all. and so many just nonsense bullshit. And it's a chance to just out with you, out. And all these accountants that make a living off that, they should be accounting in businesses. Like, taking their accounting skills, should be working on helping our businesses run better. And the taxing should be very simple. Like we have to pay taxes. We can't run our country without taxes. But we need to change the way it's done, so that it's very easy and effective. And we can all understand, okay, I make X amount, I pay X amount of taxes, period. There's no nothing in there at all. Just everybody pays a sales tax, and it's quite simple. And then people that are doing all this nonsense, busy work, can actually get productive work that's not, involved around these crazy laws that nobody understands. Elizabeth Atwater means, I wonder what this means for the next election. Now, I know this is live streaming out to Brian Kofage's pages, and I can't say anything about Trump on this. But I want to say that on my pages, I'll just go offline and come back on my pages, right? Because I will not be edited on my pages. I'll write it. I'll write it in skywriting. But on I've been saying since January, loud and clear. Look on my interview with Jordan Harbinger show, on the Jordan Harbinger show. It came out in February, but we did the interview in January, where I'm saying this is the one thing that can cause President Trump the election. This is the one. I mean, there's other things, but this is the one thing for sure that is a proximate threat. It is a real threat, and it's not a minor threat. It is a significant threat to President Trump's presidency. Significant. Like huge. It can hit him on many different levels. I mean, first of all, the disease can do a direct attack and just kill him, right? Or many people around him, and it probably will kill many people within our government. Probably. I mean, it's like 99% chance. So there's that, and then there's the high death toll that people are just like, whoa. And then suddenly the economy tanking, which it's going to do. All these things at once, he can't bullshit his way out of this. So it could really, and I can't imagine. It's a very serious danger if somebody like Bernie Trump is elected, and and Joe Biden has some sort of degenerative mental issues. It strongly appears. In addition to the fact he's crazy to begin with. He was that to begin with, and now he seems to have some sort of degenerative mental issues. I'm not an expert on these sorts of mental issues, but something's clearly wrong with him. Andre Fidencio Goncalves. I'm sorry, I'm trying to pronounce your name correctly. I don't know if you saw my message. I didn't, but here I see it now. Michael, thank you for all your work. I've been following some of your advices to be prepared for the days ahead, and I feel I'm ready. Good, because that's a huge amount. It's just psychological. About the economics issue, I think you may enjoy to read about economics fragilities and how this coronavirus has just a pin that pops some bubbles without socialist bullshit, he says. Take a look at the books by Boom Boostology by Vikram Mana. He's obviously Indian. Mansharamani, and Anti-Fragile by Nassim Talib. That Nassim guy's pretty smart, I think, isn't he? I don't know the other author. Let me screenshot that. If this will screenshot, I don't know. Yeah, it actually will. Okay. Kim Barlow is saying, people can slow down and learn and talk and spend more time with their families and communities, relearn old skills. Yeah, relearn the rocking chair on the couch. Actually, I got a rocking chair. I should have said that. This is one of my survival tools. I got a rocking chair. Relearn old skills and how to move together as a community. Stop fighting over trivial stuff. Exactly. Yeah, John Schreiner says Michael was ahead of the curve with the effects of the economy. It's not causing a ripple effects. It's now a tidal wave. Oh, it's going to be huge. We're at the front end. I would not doubt that the IRS will not even survive this, and people will go, how? And I'm like, it's hard for me to explain, but I could see how this could cause failure of the IRS. In other words, that we close them down or they are remade in such a way that they're completely different. And we should downsize that, but we still need the taxes to run our country. We need the taxes for just gazillions of reasons. But I'm also very concerned about FDA getting hampered. I'm very concerned about NASA. I'm very concerned about oh, Lord, EPA. I know people hate the EPA, but I've lived you should see the air here in Chiang Mai in Thailand right now. It's pathetically dirty. I got an air filter running right here somewhere. I moved it out of my office. But I mean, I got air filters all around. I mean, the air is pathetic. We need an EPA. And I'm afraid that if the EPA is not there, we need to defang the EPA a little bit. It needs to have sharp teeth. It needs to have sharp teeth, but it needs to be, not to be like Godzilla. And because when you go to countries like China, where I've been many times, or India, where I spent 10 months, which is again 1,000 years in most countries, you go to countries like that are very polluted, and then you will realize why our grandparents and parents decided we should have an EPA, right? It wasn't without cause, and then they got out of control. Same with the IRS. We need a tax collector and we need a tax basis, but it's out of control. Our government is out of control, and it's totally inept. They don't even have a strategic mass. What they do with all that tax money? What they do with all that tax money when we don't even have a strategic mass reserve? Why did it take them until now to take this seriously on the virus, when people like me, who've never been to school for epidemiology, never went to Harvard, was saying this crystal clear in January? And this isn't the only thing. I'm not getting lucky here. There's a long list of me being way ahead of so many, whether it was CIA being ahead of them in Iraq, Afghanistan. Oh, long list. Berlin Wall falling, 9/11, long list, right? It's a super long list. Look up my name and look up WikiLeaks, not Wikipedia. Look up my name, Michael.Yon, WikiLeaks, and Stratfor. You'll see the internal emails where Stratfor, that's a private intelligence company, right? That was internally talking about how accurate and ahead I was, ahead of the pack media and everybody else that I was on, for instance, the Iraq war. And that was private. That was never meant to be released. I never saw it. I saw it once it got released by WikiLeaks, because then I Googled my name because I was curious, like, oh, what's gotten released about me? Because there could be some sensitive stuff, actually, and I was like, because I've had kind of an interesting life. And so I was kind of concerned what could be in WikiLeaks. And so I found that on Stratfor and a few other things, but actually it made me look really good. So bravo, WikiLeaks. I'm kind of joking about that, but actually WikiLeaks made me look good. So let's see. But we need people that are going to be ahead of the curve. People that are like noticing the curve as it hits them. What good is that, man? I don't need you to tell me today's temperature. I got my own thermometer. I need you to tell me tomorrow's temperature. You know what I mean? I need you to tell me what it's going to be like next month. I need accurate forecast, because accurate forecast is what we can use. This tells me what the temperature is going to be right now. I need somebody that can tell me what the temperature is going to be next month and next year. And I have been consistently over long years way ahead of the curve. Not on everything, because when I'm not sure, I keep my mouth shut. So that's why I don't talk about most things, because most things I'm not sure about. But when you hear me talking about something like this so confidently, like the U.S. economy is clearly going to tank, it's so obvious. I don't need to be Bloomberg. People say, oh, you're not a general. You can't tell Iraq's in the Civil War. I'm like, shut up, talk to the hand. You'll see it. It's coming. Oh, you're not a fireman. You don't know the house is actually on fire. I'm like, yes, I do. You're not a doctor. You don't know he's actually got a broken leg. I'm like, the bone's sticking out of his leg. It's like, yeah. like the U.S. I don't need to be Warren Buffett to know, and you don't need to be either to know that the U.S. economy is about to tank, and so be prepared for it. You need to be prepared for it. Yeah, Sa Chi is saying CCP, Chinese Communist Party leadership, committed a crime against humanity by not timely disclosing this new virus to the international health authorities. Oh yeah, absolutely. And then this was exacerbated by Western governments and Asian governments. Not all of them. Singapore, to their credit, has jumped out to try to get ahead of it. Taiwan, Hong Kong government's terrible, but the people, the Hong Konger people, are a different story. Hong Konger people have taken their own measures, like us. Like a lot of Americans, like me, we don't need the damn government to tell us what to do. You know, we're the ones that they want to disarm, because we know I'm not anti-government. If you've ever noticed, I've never said we should overthrow the U.S. government. I don't believe that at all. I want a strong government. I want a strong government that is sensible and credible and doesn't get up and lie to us and is prepared and has a strategic mask supply and who can do things with economically, not waste boatloads of money and just we always elect somebody that's always going to be, I'm going to throw so much more money in schools and I'm going to throw much more money into this. If you look at American schools, even when I was a kid, compared to schools that I see in other parts of the world, I'm like, the schools that I grew up in going to as a kid were like universities compared to other schools that I've seen. They were so good. I don't realize that till I got older. When I got older and I was traveling around the world so much, I'm like, wow, man, the schools I went to were great, man. They were super clean. The teachers were disciplined. The teachers were good examples. They were smart. They made us study. Made me crazy. But I mean, except for my science teachers, I liked them, and my coaches were good. But some of them, I didn't like English. But we had good teachers. We had good schools. Why do we need to keep throwing more and more money in schools? They're already fantastic. We need schools. We need money in education, of course. But I mean, one thing we need is our teachers to be paid more. I know that much. Oh man, I know that much. Our teachers need to be considered. Our teachers need to be treated with the respect that Thai teachers are treated with respect. Every year, people go back and pay respect to their teachers in Thailand. They go back and bring like flowers and food and to their teachers and say thank you for being a good teacher and stuff. That's the way we need to be with our teachers in the United States. But our teachers need to be obviously held to that standard, and they need to be paid very well. But that's off on a tangent. Uh-oh. Barbara is saying, my sister has stage 4 neuroendocrine cancer, and her docs at UCSF and Stanford have given her appointments at each facility this week. She has to fly from Humboldt to San Francisco. She says she has to go staying in hotels. Obviously, not good. Carl Edwards says, you say WikiLeaks made me look good, like maybe they might have some dirt on you. Let's hope that your name doesn't come up when Judicial Watch questions Hillary. No dirt. They wouldn't have any dirt. Not at all. There's no. That's why when people that have hated me, if you'll notice that people have dug on me trying to get dirt and they can't. It's just, it's weird. On one side, I've had a super exciting life, you might say, and then on another, it's actually quite boring. It's actually quite boring when it comes to like scandal. It's just, people would have found it by now. It's just like when it comes to scandal, it's just pretty boring. But no dirt. There's just some things in the past that wouldn't be good to be out there because of just work. Let's see. But they're nothing scandalous, nothing illegal or anything like that. Let's see. Michael, have you visited any work camps in China or Korea? No, I have not. I have been to China and Korea. If you mean North Korea, I have not been to North Korea. Danielle is saying, Mulk is saying, I typed too fast. It shows I didn't see what you typed too fast, but let's see. Italy. Daniel Mulk is saying, let's see. Italy is about to, they've got getting close to 2,000 deaths now. But remember, there's a lot of other deaths that will not be attributed to this, like people that just can't go get treatment. They can't get elective surgeries or, very important surgeries, or they get in a car accident and they can't get treated. So those aren't going to be added to this. But let's see, if they've had 2,000 deaths now, 2,000 deaths already directly to this, I mean, they're going to be hitting. I mean, they'll be hitting over 100,000 before you know it, dead in Italy. What are we going to do with all the bodies? Because this is going to be a community level thing that communities need to start thinking about now. If it gets down to that, and it's looking like it probably will, where you can't dig that many graves that fast. I mean, like Iran building mass graves. Let's see. There was a question up here. Kimberly H. How soon do you think there will be a run on the banks? I don't know, but I was thinking about it this morning and yesterday and last month. I don't know. I don't have that skill level to say that or that information either. What I do have the skills and information to say is I think the chances of it happening at some point are extremely high. I don't know when, I don't know how it would look, but I think the chances are significant. What to do with our 401k, Patricia says, I don't know. That's way outside of my expertise. I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I don't know. I can't give that sort of advice. C. Chai is saying Italy 24/7 sick corona people, but can't. Yeah. Well, Italy is down to triage at this point. Yeah, there's a lot of conspiracy theories. When you find conspiracy theories, wrap them in a ball of garbage and throw them away, because we're busy with, as you know, with really important stuff. Yeah. The United States doctors around the country have been asked to stop doing any elective surgery. Donald is saying the issue is that here in the U.S., teachers have become activists and brainwashed the students in Marxism. Actually, Donald, I mean, this is a really interesting topic we could talk about for hours, and we really should on one of these live casts. And because when we have time for our quarantine and coffee and book club, we can talk about stuff like this. And this is a time for massive change in the United States and around the world. Why even send kids off to the schools anymore like this when we can do classroom? We can do school. We can do study at home with computers like this. And it doesn't even have to all be at home. It just doesn't have to be the giant schools. It could be neighborhood schools or and so they have the best teachers in the world, beamed into their, classrooms, because there's a lot of things that can be taught online that not most schools don't have the ability to teach in their school. Like in my schools, there was the only languages you could really learn in my high schools and schools were like Spanish and I think French, maybe German, but certainly not But now we'll have the ability to learn whatever language you want to learn. Like everybody's going to learn a language, or that's a core requisite. Let's say I don't know, but okay, so you can choose whatever language that interests you for whatever reason. Yeah. See, Sachi is what is happening in Italy might happen to the U.S. too in a larger size. I would say chances are extremely high. I would say count on it, actually. That's right. Peter's right. Rumors are for fools. Data rules. Let's see. All right. Okay. Let's see. Larry is saying that Michael DuPage County in Illinois just issued a health disaster proclamation. This is just going to avalanche around the country. And it's going to have dramatic effects. Companies are going to close. Boom, boom, boom. Just like this. As I've been saying since January. When it happens, it's going to happen fast. Get to your strong point. Get to the point where you want to ride this bad boy out. At least until we can get through the first wave and get our feet under us and figure out what is the magnitude of this thing and how does it look like it's shaping up. Get to your most stable position that you can be in, your safest place. If you are one of my nieces in Canada, and as soon as I get offline, I'm going to be calling her up. Like, if you're coming back to Thailand, you need to get yourself on an airplane like right now, like today. Don't even do it tomorrow. Do it right now. And then even when she comes back to Thailand, she's going to have to go in 14-day quarantine. And so the thing is what's almost certainly going to happen, like 98% chance, is if you don't do it soon, you're just stuck in Canada. And that's it. You're not coming back to Thailand. You know what I mean? Not until a long time. And so, and so there you go. Gary says, I've been coming and going from your broadcast. I'm busy preparing my backup hard point at Norris Lake, Tennessee. I've been to Norris Lake, man. That's great. Yeah, I'm very happy that you're preparing. The more of us who are prepared, the less of a shock this will be. If 90% of us were prepared, it would still have 10% like nightmare, but it would be much less. So the more of us who are prepared, the less problems that we're going to have, the fewer problems that we're going to have. Like up in Western North Carolina, the folks up there are just going to, oh, we got a food shortage. Oh, go grab the rifle. Go get us a deer. It's like, whatever, man. Go get a bear. Go get some trout. Go get some crawdads. Go get some blackberries. Go pick blackberries. Make some blackberry pancakes. Yeah, I don't know how much that's worth, Car. I have no idea. I wouldn't stake my life on it, but there you go. Let's see if there's anything I can answer. Let's see. Irish government just told its citizens in Spain that they have until midnight to Thursday to get back. That's what I'm saying. Get to your hard point now. I've been saying that since January. And again, back then there was not many symptoms of this, so I sounded crazy. But keep that in mind as I warn you about other stuff in the future. And you're like, it sounds a little radical now, but I got this very long track record that stretches back many years on many topics. For instance, on 60 Minutes one time, I saw something on 60 Minutes in 2013, and I'll tell you about that sometime. And then I immediately published something about how 60 Minutes just got duped, and everybody's like, what? And I was like, because it was only like a 15-minute show, and I immediately said, anyway, and then like that was 2013, and then in 2016, I was proven correct. It's like I had watched this show on 60 Minutes about this North Korean defector, and his name was Shin Dong-hyuk, and it was only like 15 minutes or whatever, and I was like, that's bullshit. He's lying for sure. In fact, I was so confident of it, I actually published it, which is, I realized that could cost me everything in a lawsuit. That could just my reputation if I'm wrong. But I'm like, definitely lying. And there was a best-selling book about him from some New York Times author, and all these things. And then it took about 2.5 years. I think it was 2016, because in 2013 is when I called him out. And then I'm seeing here, they called him out in 2000, and then he got caught in 2015. So, and he admitted to it. He admitted the things that I was saying were actually true. So I put on my Facebook, you can look it up. It was April 4th, 2013. I titled it, "A Man I Do Not Believe." Apparently, millions of people believe this man with their hearts, have put their minds on idol. I published the same link yesterday. Nothing about this man adds up, from the simplest to the more complex. And then I parenthetical this. I am going from this 60 Minutes interview and cursory research. The package smells rotten on its face. For instance, he said, this is a North Korean defector. He says he was in Camp 14 until his young 20s. Now he is 30. He jumps out as a sophisticated metro, complete with fluent metro body language that I often see in Asia. I never see this level of articulate body language from people with humble beginnings in these countries. He claims to have been born and raised in brutal concentration camp. Anyway, it goes on and on and on. And I give all these reasons why he's full of nonsense, and that I'm willing to stake my entire reputation on watching him from 15 minutes that he's lying, and he's fooled 60 minutes. He's full. All these universities and stuff are giving him like honorary PhDs and all this crap. And he's like doing all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, he's lying. It's very obvious that he's lying. Little things like he knew his birthday. And I was like, he knows his birthday. He would never know his birthday. He's like, people are like, how do you know that? I'm like, I know stuff like this. That's my job. My job is to know weird stuff like that, so that so when I see people, I can go, okay, that doesn't add up. He's maybe true, maybe he's not. But that he knew his birthday, and his body language was so articulate and so many different things. I'm like, for sure, that guy's lying. People like that never know their birthdays, ever. It's like, and I can talk about it for hours. And so, and anyway, a couple of years later, he was proven to be lying, and he got caught. So as I tell you these things in the future, that there is going to be an economic collapse in the United States, and people say, oh, you're not a financial expert. And I'll be like, yeah, I'm not. I wasn't an army general in Iraq or Afghanistan. I was right about those time and time again. I was right about Japan, Korea issues, and I'm not, the ambassador to Japan or Korea. It's like, if you study hard enough, we can all know things that we don't have a degree to put on the wall about. Angela's saying, you are so right about far north Georgia and Western Carolina. I took a nice drive to Andrews to shop, and there was little concern, no crowds either. It was awesome, and I could take my time. How many stoplights does Andrews have now? 3. And I used to live in Andrews, and so I used to ride my bike all the way up the mountain, go all the way over to Robbinsville sometimes. That was a pretty good ride, actually. Northern Georgia, like LJ, y'all be fine. Y'all be fine. I'm not even worried about you guys. If the whole United States was like you, I would just be like, whatever. It's like, we're going to be fine. We're just going to roll right through this bad boy. We're going to have a bunch of cookouts and stuff. Hey, somebody's going to call me up and say, shot a deer. Let's go have a cookout. It's like, Sub-Saharan starting to pop. Yeah, you're talking Chris Ionescu. Is that a Romanian name? He was too polished, and he knew a lot of things that people like that never know. Like his birthday. Other things as well, like how to read a map. They never know how to read a map, period. He knew too much. He had too much sophisticated international knowledge that he never would have had. And it was clear that he's not what he said he was. And yeah. Vicky Pawn says, Vicky Pawn Wolf, we are all set here, and if you end up with a virus and breathing problems, a CPAP machine will be the same thing as hospital ventilators. Well, that's good to know. I'm gonna check that out because you can still get CPAPs. Because I was in a place, I've been going to pharmacies checking out did I forget something, and I noticed they got CPAPs and stuff and BiPAPs in them. Yeah, I was wondering that as well. But I wonder. I guess you can turn up the power or whatever. Yeah, I feel like Cassandra, cursed into knowing the future, but no one believes you. Exactly, exactly. Like when I was telling the FBI about this one cannibal in San Francisco Police Department and Honolulu Police Department as well, I was just like, I, there's some stuff that I've told the FBI over the years that if you knew, I'll write about it sometime, and it'll be provable stuff, and things that I've passed on to them either often through surrogate actually, so they didn't know where it came from, and then they just take no action on it, and I'm like, you got to be insane not to take action on the information that I just gave. You know what I mean? That would be really important. That is super important on security issues. Unbelievable. It's like the Monty Python. There's a reason that Cassandra is even that myth, because it's true. There always are people like that. They're not oracles. They don't see the future. They just, for some reason, can put things together, and I don't know why. Like I have been able to do this more or less since I was a kid. Actually, I can just see, like, I don't know, and it's not seeing the future. It's just studying a lot and studying a lot, and then and studying a lot and studying a lot more. Let's see. Okay. Sedona's nice. North. The infected Waffle House in Georgia near Atlanta represents both a cluster and not Waffle House, but we knew it would happen. That's like, for me, that's like the temple. Let's see, the Waffle House. I've been following my area closely, and it's all fixing. Let's see. Larry says, Michael, Illinois governor just closed all restaurants and bars statewide. Good. Should have done it a long time ago. I don't believe you need a doctor to get a CPAP or a BiPAP, Rachel, if that's what you're asking. Toy saying BiPAP is closer, but still not the same. With more settings, flexibility, or forced inspired volume and other parameters with a ventilator. I don't know what you mean. Just like seeing a chessboard. Oh yeah. For people that play chess a lot, well, especially those. The more you play chess, you can just look at a board. And when I was younger, I would play 3 or 4 or 5 people at a time with chess. But I'm not a chess expert by any stretch. But I used to play a lot, so much. I actually started a chess club when I was not really a chess club. It was kind of a chess club. It was like the quarantine coffee and book club. It was just when I was in special forces. I started getting everybody playing chess, and we would play chess a lot. That's why they started calling me Genghis-Yon. Genghis-Yon. That was my chess name. Grits. The grits are. It's just ground corn, but it's good. It's good for Floridians like me, or Southerners. We like grits. We like grits with cheese and grits with. Vicky says, correction about CPAPs. We need. I'm curious about the CPAPs and being used for breathing apparatus. Rachel says, Waffle House, good place for observation. It is. Yeah, and also the ability to anticipate things using logic and common sense, but also it's beyond that. It's intuitive. Obviously, at some point, it can only be intuitive. Or women will say intuitive. Men often hate that word, Americans, but it's intuitive. Men will say it's my gut instinct, because the men's term for intuition is, they're like, intuition, that's for women. It's like, no, it's not. Everybody's got intuition, and some people will listen to their intuition, and some won't. And men will call it gut instinct. It's the same thing, with a different package. With a manly package, it's a gut instinct. But also, it's more than that. You also have to have the ability to say it. You know what I mean? To know you're going to get punched in the face when you say it. You know you're going to get that you're going to continue to get ridiculed, and so you have to be able to put up with a lot of ridicule. And if you're willing to put up with ridicule in the long term, like as the years go by and more people see that I've been accurate over the years, now it's not as painful, because people go, no, you know, I've been following this work for years, and so there you go. So now it's not like it used to be. But when I first said Iraq was in a civil war and Afghanistan was going the way it was and General McChrystal needs to be fired, oh boy, that was lots of loss of credibility went both ways. Actually, there were people that attacked me for it that I will never take seriously again, because I was like, you personally attacked me for saying what I think is happening. Like the Black 5 blog people, they're just, I'll never help them again after that. Like Diana Parker Shermer says, people who have lived through a lot of BS have taken off their rose-colored glasses and can see past the surface crap and can sense what's coming. Yep. And also just not taking the government at face value, or anybody really. Let's see. Larry is saying, Governor, 93 confirmed cases in Illinois in 13 counties, numbers growing exponentially. All states will be hit. All states and territories, islands across the Pacific, islands across the world, all the islands in Indonesia are not enough to hide in, and Philippines. You're all every island with people on it, unless they're totally out there in total quarantine. All right, 3 hours, Bonita. Yeah, let's take off. And I have some things to do as well. And I'll probably almost certainly be back on again later tonight. It depends on local issues. I'm looking for one last question here. Okay. I don't see. Yes, Romanian. So it is a Romanian name. It's been a long time since I've been to Romania. I hope things are going well in Romania. I noticed Romania cut the border, I think, with Italy. Or not the border with Italy, but what did Romania cut there? Are you in Romania? You're American or Romanian or, thank you, Daniel. Yeah, I mean, people will have to be told to. There's somebody just, Mark Elliott. Hey, Michael, I'm in Mississippi. Work outside as a tennis pro at club. People are wanting lessons all this week, and when I told the ladies today that I'd be shutting it down soon, they looked at me like I was crazy and said, I guess we will have to get a new coach. At what point do I shut down my lessons? I'm only driving from home to the club. I would say, nice knowing you. I would be polite about it, because soon they're going to get education soon. And see, the classes are going to get shut down soon anyway, right? And so you might as well do it while the getting's good. And I mean, everybody's going to be handling the ball that's going to have somebody else's sweat on it and stuff. No, man, I would shut down. If you're in good health, though, you might be able to. I mean, and you're young and in good health, you might just sail right through it anyway. But to flatten the curve, you should just stay home. And I would just say that's the way it goes. and they can find a new coach and you can find new clients. You know, I mean, it goes both ways. That's funny when some military people were telling me you'll lose your access, and I'm like, screw you and screw your access. How you like that? You lose your access too, and I'll just go outside the wire, and you know what happens when that happens. Let's see. So yes, you're in Italy. There are, or I don't know if you're in Italy. Chris says there are millions of Romanians in Italy fixing to return home for Easter. Well, they need to go home like now, today, and stay home for now. Well, they're just going to bring a lot of the virus home as well. Oh, you're in Canada, I see. Okay. Yeah, everybody, again, I want to sign off now, but everybody go to your strong points and stay in your strong points. Fortify all the supplies you need, water, gas for cooking, propane, butane, methane. Some people have methane. You can use, actually, this is, we'll talk about Go Bar gas. We'll talk about Go Bar gas. This is a chance if you live in certain sorts of conditions. While this is going on and you're stuck at home, you can do Go Bar gas. Look up my Go Bar gas dispatches and read that before we come back. And we'll talk about this sometime if you want to talk about it. But read my dispatches on it first. So research, look up that. Look up my name, Michael.Yon, and Go Bar gas. And there's two major dispatches on there that I wrote. I researched that a lot. I researched it in Nepal and Laos and Cambodia and Vietnam and Afghanistan and a couple of other places. And make sure to research Go Bar gas and read my two dispatches on Go Bar gas. Read them. Make yourself do it. And if you read about those, you'll actually might have a new project that you want to do for yourself and your family, depending on your circumstances. You can make your own methane. You can make all kinds of stuff super cheap, and you will be very happy. And so Go Bar gas. I'm going to go ahead and sign out. I'll see you next time I come back. Will be later tonight. Almost certainly. Let me sign out. Mike out. End broadcast.